curves to help rotate the car just a little bit, but you don't have the benefit of that every corner. It's a tool you can use if you're finding a little bit of understeer, and you have good enough car control to do it, because that can very easily end in a spin.
Right, top speed at Overall is that famous corner, the pound of the compression before you fire up to rally on is 2 forwards, first fastest or second fastest, and that's why they're creeping back up the order. And now Fabio Schiro's moved in the last 2 laps, he's gained 2 positions, he's up to 12th. And Finn Wiebelhaus with the number 50 Ferrari just coming to serve a pit stop, who's gained another position. He is up to 5th place overall, by far the front runner in the Silver Cup class, because the next one down is Matthias Zagazeta in his Ferrari, car number 52, that's in 19th place. I think that battle for now is very much in the pocket of the Hout Racing team for the Silver class category.
You never want to call anything safe in racing, do you? But I think that the margin at the time being would be comfortable if you have the cars 6th all the way down to 18th place, wedged between you in 5th and your nearest rival in 19th. And so much so that you have 1, 2, 3 different class cars all represented there. Number 12, Mercedes-AMG Mika Grenier, used to see him do some great work with Mackay Stevens and call his name in the GT World Challenge America powered by AWS Grid. He drives with JMS Motorsport, but of course is one of the best Mercedes-AMG factory drivers on the grid. Heck of a grab, that has to be said by the number 12 crew to have him aboard the Mercedes. I know, at least for Mackay Stevens in the States, has been a wonderful teaching tool. Is laser focused, is absolutely super quick behind the wheel in just about any race conditions. He's a great one to work from.
Yeah, that's how pairings are made. It's not the work of a moment, it's the work of working out what works best for the pair of you and how you can put that knowledge across. But right now, what we're seeing is Lucas Allen. We talked about his consistency, we talked about Superman, and just getting a message at the dashboard in Car 46. We heard Dan Harper saying, it's not working, I'm not getting lap times. It has now been repaired. So an extra strong cup of coffee to the person who managed to sort that one from within the pit garage for him, you know. And it's when you realise how many people with incredibly specialist skills you need, sometimes you might only need that skill once in a season. But right now, in the biggest race of the year, the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps, the crowd strike, 24 Hours of Francorchamps, you need that skill. And that was pretty quick work in the space of about 3 laps. We don't know when that initial radio message came. We don't always have the bang on time. But out to the lead race, Leslie Rivera, really good job done by him. I'd expect nothing less.
Yeah, Robert with some well-deserved rest ahead of him. And look at the beauty of that Ferrari garage I was talking about earlier. Just so neat, so organized, so composed. Fuel out, engine on, cars away. No dramas as Alessia Robert hands that car over to the 65 Mustang. Wiebelhaus is in as well. We'll update on that positioning there for our top 3. And Harper running an hour respectively, with Hour leading this motor race if just by a hair over Thomas Preining. He's done a really nice job of it. You can see Bryn already hard at work tracking down the driver. We put the car on the overall pole position, and he's done a nice job at nearly completing the comeback effort. At least he brought the car in at the helm of the field.
Yeah, exactly that. But what I think is super impressive is that Ferrari mechanics did the bare minimum to that car. They weren't going out and checking lots of stuff, because clearly the reports it's had boost speed. You had a visual as it came into the pit. It wasn't going like that good body work, doing a little attention to that, number of mechanics on car, etc. Going like clockwork. But we've had cars going like that clockwork until they weren't. A few laps ago down Harbour, no instrumentation in his number 46 BMW. Still running in 4th place, still running at a decent pace. Last lap not so good, but anyhow, things can just change at the blink of an eye.
Just ask Garage 59, unfortunately. And Jules Coulon getting a little bit of a top off of fluid here. Waiting in the background is one of the 2C's cars. I believe that is the 222. Jules Coulon dropped and up and away. Meanwhile, we saw him hard at work. The, of course, garage. Greg Lucas is caught up with the man who was on pole. It's Alessia Robra, fresh out of his stint.
Well, Alessia, we've spoken to your teammates, we've spoken to many of your team about just what happened at the very beginning of this race and how it looked like it was going away from you, but this is a very strange race. It always is.
Yeah, I said last night, if we come back, win the lap, we restart the race from 0. And here, with all the safety car, we can pack back again. And luckily, we have the pace to come back because we had the patience in the FP and the qualifying. So now, but yeah, congrats to the guys because we could overtake 2 cars in the pit stop, which is the key here because it's so difficult to overtake. Still super long, so finger crossed.
Yeah, there were lots of safety cars, lots of force yellows, lots of opportunity to get that time back, and it's played very nicely. But there's a long way to go. How are you facing the next 9 hours or whatever it happens to be now?
To say, if the line is always better, you have free air, you can manage a bit more the pace, and also physically is a bit better. So yeah, okay, also with my teammates, we will keep pushing and everything.
Just going to go off the top.
Quietly satisfied enough to key there to me was he said, Hutchinson, we always have a chance, but we can see that from the outside. Fridays when they have an approach, being quick, whether it's cooler, but definitely when it was hot. So what's he going to do between now and the end of the race? Get crossed.
Humble as ever as well. Giving so much credit to the team that he yielded to himself and doing a sporting job of it. I think give yourself a little bit of credit though. So you were the fastest man in Super Bowl and you have been one of the fastest drivers out on the racetrack today. Rover Racing going to work on their M4 GT3 Evo. Cars down, cars away. Undramatic pit stop for them and their pro class number 98 entry. Not fighting for the win as it stands, but Raffaele Marciello, always a contender. He is a former IGDC champion and he is never somebody you can count out. But look at these two. Battle has presumed it has not gone anywhere. We suspect that pit stops are imminent because they are both effectively now on exactly the same strategy. And they have just swapped positions from where we saw them a little while ago. The 46 GW was in the mix. The rifles, of course, is there to the wall all the way through Eau Rouge and up Ronnie onto Blind Corner to Daring Corner. Right now it's a shaded corner, which means the track temperature might even be different at the top of the hill from where you start.
Yeah, the change comes very, very quickly. The sun will come up, but it takes a while to chug. You realise just how deeply recessed into the valley the circuit is in parts. But we've got driver change time, and Vale is coming out to play. And into the pits comes Dan Harper. Out he climbs. There's the man with 46 on his back, waiting to squeeze his way into the frame. The taller, thinner figure of Vale. And I love the fact he still occasionally says, I had the bike over, no, the car. But he's just such an arch enthusiast, and he was trying for years to get into car racing. But as I said, 2019 he started driving GT3, small way, gradually building up, and when the wins were coming, the American cannot contain his joy.
I think once he got that first win in Misano, we just opened the floodgates for success. Followed it up shortly thereafter, 1 year thereafter, then won the season finale last year with, you guessed it, Team WRT. With a strategic masterclass in a rain-soaked Indianapolis 8-hour, and has really not looked back. That success has continued to today. I think probably in my mind one of the stints of the race was him filming up Jules Gounon in the evening hours. My goodness, what a show he put on. It was cool, calm, collected. He didn't put a foot wrong. He let Jules Gounon by. It was absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, Jules is the sort of driver you can give 2 opportunities to. He won't wait for the second, but an opportunity did not happen. His cars were getting increasingly loose. The handling was not as dreamt it would be, but that's the point. In a race where you have this massive amazing a range of temperatures. I mean, the from the coolest to the hottest has been, I think, probably about 36 degrees in terms of track temperature, which is an enormous swing. You know, you think some race circuits 2 or 3 degrees and your car is transformed, whether for the better or for the worse. But down the day goes the lead. It's running in further down the order, so not all the cruising but that's Cleveland. It's simply because we've had a whole host of ship visits. So turn out the top 10 for them. But we have in the pit lane. Who's going to mix the order? Is he going to chop around the top? Can he get out ahead or behind in the 9-speed car? We can't turn this up at the top of the pit lane. It's got to go down past the endurance pits as well.
We shall see. We're trying to make that pass in the pit lane, which you can do. Let's go over what I talked about benefits of doing just that. But Lucas Hour's efforts are not going to be helped up by the Tsunami RT Racing Porsche as he closes, and needs to get the move done and the run down toward Bruxelles. And he does. He will have that long arcing right-hander to contend with. But how much time did he lose? And you mentioned that the World Cup leader in Cleveland climbing aboard the sports car up and cover. Tim Travis hopped aboard after a really good stint. They have been fighting in the sharp end of that class really since the evening hour started. First early rubber being slapped on to the side of the Lion Speed GP number 80 machine. Fuel being shut, waiting for fuel. A little bit of stowaway on the windows, saving it till the end of the race. And continues to be able to work. It is such artistry watching the GT3 pit stop.
Precision. I really feel for Lucas Auer. He decided to go for one extra lap, maybe two extra laps. He gets a bit blocked. So what he wanted was to gain every nano-second that he could. And right now, that hasn't been in his favour. He might stay out for another lap. I don't see if there are many cars sitting out on the track in front of that number 48 Mercedes. But you can't choose where the cars are going to be. You just do not want to have any delay. Two Ferraris running together, but it's number 51. That's in fifth position. Nicholas Nielsen now back on board. That took over from Alessio Rovera. And what's he got in front of him? A whole host of traffic. That's the massive issue.
Well, what's he got in front of him is the sister car, the 52, that is out of position. And if there's ever a car you don't want holding you up, it's one that's under your own stable as well. I suspect that the 52 would provide a tow down the Camel Straight and then sportingly get out of the way, because you do not want to drop them back into the clutches of a very, very rapid Porsche 911 bearing the number 80 behind, and certainly not with a menacing looking bright yellow number 80 AMG.
Into the pit lane, just rumbled past. So we know that distinctive sort of basso profundo note we get from the Mercedes V8. Fantastic engine note, but he doesn't care about the engine note. He cares about having a really, really slick pit stop. Can he get through that and get back out? So Mauro Engel very quickly into the car and flicking his driver on the D switch, but is he going to be out in second or is he going to be out in third? Because you have to presume Nicholas Nielsen should presumably Ferrari that has been so strong, whether cool, medium, hot, or scalding. Those are the different need to keep inside Fabio Scheerer's car in the pits as well. And that goes up to fourth place. Second, was down in 12th place. That moved up to 14th. That's because everyone else has pitted in front of them. But now, this is an absolutely key pit stop for the bright yellow, number 48. Bad filter. Mercedes, driver out, driver in. Mauro Engel's name was already put on board, but before he got on board, that was a quick flick. So many drivers forget to do it. They're leaving the pits, and you can do it for them once you've got in the pit lane. That is fine. But here is our professional race leader. Surely he's going to resume the lead of this race. Number 51 Ferrari. He's only very early into this stint. He pitted 9 minutes ago, came out of the pits 9 minutes ago. Up the hill he goes. A gentle ascent to the sort of neat and tidy Dane, who just basically has Ferrari written through his early career, was all about winning the Ferrari Challenge, and he did that in short order. Very soon became a Ferrari Works driver. And the rest is history in the making, and it's something that may yet happen. Now on the slope runs. The 51 Ferrari gets the job done. We get to about 5.5 seconds before the pit stops. But the important now is where's the Lion Speed Porsche on the right hand side of your screen. That will get into second place, and unfortunately for the Mercedes crew, they seem to have lost effectively about 2 to 3 seconds in the run. Remember, they got traffic up the top of the hill beforehand, and that certainly did not happen too much.
I think what happened there was twofold. First, exactly what you said. Immediately after the 80 came into pit lane, the 48 car caught the back end of traffic. I think the second element of that was catching the back end of the 64 car on the way into pit lane. We know so much time could be gained or lost happening in the pit lane there. Kind of getting hung up a little bit by the Mustang 64, who had put it off sequence. Ford is trying to be a little bit creative, have they, the Hub Racing team crew, to try to get the 64 back into contention, but it is the 65 who's been the better of the two cars in the latter stages of this race. But we re-racked and reset. 51 Ferrari. Nicholas Nielsen leads Thomas Planning and Mauro Engel.
Oh, dearie me, a 5 minute time penalty for track limits. That is a biggie. How big is a shambles, by the way? That was a juicy space for Mercedes. Take a look back at the highlights. We started in daylight, we went to the night, back to daylight, and let's take a look at the best what's happened. Hot doesn't even start to cover how scalding it was out of the grid. Everyone wants the glory in its Continental GT Challenge. A nice tiny start, but the field waved away by Pierre Guillaume, principal of the ACO. Nicholas Nielsen, a really tiny start for him in the Ferrari. He started he's looking good then, it's looking good now at the stage, but he wasn't looking good for Ariel Levi. Getting it wrong clattering into the back of the Morgan horse. Aston Martin and JB Day, 2 other cars eliminated. That was only halfway around the opening lap. Then the racing came at us thick and fast, but mainly side by side, particularly through the final couple of corners. Early in the race, drivers were doing 6 laps. It was simply too hot to count in the second class. Racing suddenly put a wheel bouncing around in the track. No damage done there, but a big shock for all parties concerned, particularly for the driver of the Tecto Audi that ended up in a 3-wheeler. Then a couple of moments of off-track madness in many ways. There was the blue and white Kessel Racing Ferrari going left, going right, going off the track between Pouon and Fagna. And then a little problem, right-hand side of the screen, look, exit one Ferrari, that was a number 50. And that was, eventually that's got back in the mix up into 5th or 6th place. And then a bit more contact, another Ferrari, number 71 that time, at the final sequence of corners. That's how you do it. Cleanly, tidily, great positivity. Well, that was Raffaele Marciano in the Rover BMW making the moves. And then one of the moves of the race came, showing the pace of the BMW up the hill, overtaking Dan Harper, picking his way past the number 7 Aston Martin as if he was standing still. A Porsche ball, no less. Now, a car that was rising all the time in the bronze class, the Kessel Racing Ferrari, just having a fantastic run. But conditions were changed. The story of the race was Ferrari just going well until they weren't going well. This is about 9 o'clock in the evening, leading the race, and suddenly a punch off the worst place on the lap for Alessio Roveri. Had to do the entire lap to come back round to the pit garage. A big off-track over there with all the motorsport. Then the bonnet slamming up the windscreen of the class racing Porsche. While driving back, getting shoved off the track as well. Can he get the bonnet down? Hammer it out. He did the job. Got the car back into the race. And then the glorious moon rose. It was still very hot indeed. Drivers are now going towards doing 2 driver stints rather than just the one, but they were suffering by the end of it. The driver suffering enormously. Sebastian Bowe dropping a wheel at Kurt Paul Frere, and that was over and out for him. Hadn't had many retirements at that point in the race, and then it was though we were trying to create them. And this is the Zingo Tempesta Porsche being spun one way, being hit once, if not twice, possibly even 3 times. A bit of contact. And then, unfortunately, battle for 3rd place, number 2, Porsche, Boris Shoring, just making a move that didn't work, spinning around the McLaren at the final corner of the lap. Amazing shots as we went into cross darkness. Was that a light show? Yes, it was. Lightning in the sky. First sheet, then full lightning. We knew the rain was coming. How long would it last? How heavy would it be? And already, we've got other cars having problems. East Hamilton facing Audi going around shedding body parts on the exit of Loshimon, scary place for Marcus really want to go in. And then a huge impact for Sarah Bodie at the exit of Loshimon. This is the damage to her car, but the best side of the way was getting out. And then the rain came. It was heavy, it was intense. But we got through it. The teams had only just changed not to remember the time. Something happened though. Then it started to happen. And there was one of our contenders, not out of the race, but out of the running, number 58. Benji Goethe clattering into the back. Number 2 drivers going in, and then we went to daylight. The 9-speed GP Porsche was on the up, and it's the number 51 car. The car lost me 2 laps, and the Porsche was emerged in the morning in the lead race by about 8 seconds. And that is it for me. The night shift is now leaving the room to welcome back John Osborne and David Addison, looking incredibly fresh and down but not really.
Bruce, well done, fantastic work as ever, all the way through the months. I don't know how you guys do it for that long in the night, but well done to Jonathan Race and Bruce Jones. Thanks both of you. We'll pick this up in a moment, but first let's just enjoy an Spa with the race leader, Nicholas Nielsen's Ferrari, just out past 8 AM. Welcome everybody to the Crowds Right 24 Hours of Spa. Let it drive. Valentino Rossi in the wheel is in the lead battle. There are merits as well. So that car going nicely, and there's certainly more to come because we come to the next one with BMWs. It was the 98 Rover car that was up on the BMW model last night. That has then hit various problems and delays and fallen down. Well, I've got to say that we're now 65 for running in 6th place. And twice in a row. That's like the car that deserves a big cheer. And getting started from the pit lane. And once you're out of pocket, some of it is gradually like to get trying to get the top 6. We don't have a pit lane start to win. 25 inch Porsche might change that depending on what it was. The 51 pair was Ferrari. And there you can see how many places people have gained or lost. 64 spots gained for Thomas Prime from the pit lane. He was a genuine competitor by regulation, about 65. I think he elected to start the pit. Was getting 58 places. That makes 23 of everything Chavez from Mr. McDowell. That's the 39 down from Dan Williams. BMW 47 for John Roberski. That leads the SRO GT Academy from within British GT. So it's a big numbers. Thomas Prime coming from defeating the very, very bad. And now running in 2nd place. So let's have a quick look at the order now as they come to the right. This now puts 340 laps in the book. Nicholas Nielsen is your race leader. Ben Doyle going through behind it is currently running in 11th place in silver. That's your bronze leader down below the BMW. Thomas Prime in glass speed Porsche that's right through behind. And then in 3rd place is the yellow Mercedes of Ferrari. We're looking at 4th place BMW of Valentino Rossi. He is at the wheel of 46. You can see the gap that he's going to make up. He's just heading towards the beam, but he's not there yet. Now, when he comes up towards the timing line, so he's 22 seconds back from him. That's Rossi in 4th place. And then in 5th, should be number 50 Alfa Leclerc. Back on the wheel of that car that was tipped into the turn 9 gravel yesterday, late afternoon. So it's, there is Alfa Leclerc, now in 6th place behind him. There is the white Mustang, that is and twice at the wheel, that's 3.7 seconds back. Now that Mustang is dropping away, the quicker car to keep up, I reckon, is Leclerc, who last time was 3 tenths quicker than Valentino Rossi had, so there's a battle possibly to build up between those two. That said, Rossi's 14 minutes into the spin, Leclerc is 25 minutes 26, he will pit sooner than will do BMW. And he turns 23 minutes to go.
Good morning, David. Yeah, what a topsy-turvy night we had, and kind of dissected this morning. Back up, 51 car has got up there, and without stating the obvious, it's on pure pace, and I have to say, Rivera has really good that car. He has got it by a swiftly, and he's hauled it up there. His stint averages are nothing beyond phenomenal. Same with the 80 car. I have to say, Thomas Prime has been very quick. He hasn't done a huge amount in that car, obviously keeping him for the end of the race. He will be doing, I think, maybe another 3 hours in the remaining 8 hours that we've got. And you're in the 48, that 48 car, that lineup is just so set. All 3 drivers, that stint average, every single lap going by is within a tenth of a second. That is the strength of 48.
Now, 51 Ferrari did benefit slightly by that centre car that we had after Marcus Winterland's crash and pulled back that lost lap under that. You're absolutely right what you say about the pace, but again, of course, know all about strategy, know when to roll the dice and bring the car in, so that as soon as they got back on the lead lap, he was able to work again, and yeah, you're right, the pace is there. Same for a weekend, it's a strong car there. Having lost time with contact to the pit lane, once we went into the back of the traffic jam, number 3 Mercedes also lost time by having to make an extra pit stop. They went all wet, it wasn't wet enough, was it, in the night? So the car, relatively speaking, a long way back in 13th place, but again, it's not a lead lap, so you don't rule out should we not be behind the wheel of that car. Again, they've kind of kept him for Sunday, it feels like, doing a lot of more of their this line yesterday. But the 2 teams, I think, now can do that. It's like an early morning safety car or a reset just to bring them back into the next. That will also help those motion because they're now really tired after the night.
Yeah, that's the way we were starting to pull on reserves. As that bonnet flaps away. I know the 2C's car looked at that in the technical pit stop to make sure we get to the end, but also these your bingo card is the engineer looked at the race in reverse. You work from the finish upwards to keep the fastest driver in for the end in case there's a late set car runs bunched up. Fairly obvious. You also then want to do that last pit stop as early as you can. And the maximum stint time is 60 minutes, but if there's a full course shadow, essentially that goes to 65. I'm going to see any teams that are potentially out of the mix. The risk at pit stop of 65 minutes ago, praying there could be an intervention that has yet to happen. There's a few strategies at play, but we'll start to see what starts to happen as this race gets closer to the pointy end.
The World Cup leading BMW Gold's been shuffling quite a bit, hasn't it? With the demise of 58, the damaged his radiator problem, McLaren now put the 991 BMW into the lead. Sorry, 998 BMW in the lead, yet Klingman at the wheel. I'm getting a bit concerned about BMW pace. Now we've got one lead in gold, we've got one lead in bronze. Don't look, he's not done that much drive time. I don't think don't look in bronze, but as far as gold was concerned, yet Klingman at the wheel. That's the car that he shared with the Welder and Tim Tramnitz. I'm not saying this could get up there for an overall position, but I think the top 10 certainly beckons the way that it's going. 32 BMW, but we've hardly seen really half the way to be in the pit lane. He's creeping into the top 10 also. 9th place currently for Jordan Pepper. One of the things, Joe, we were discussing about half an hour ago, was who the quicker drivers had been. There was absolutely no doubt about who would win the fastest on his average lap over the race, and that was.
Let's show it is clear as well. And clear of top flames, I've got to give Tom a shout out. The 58 McLaren, you mentioned, was leading the bronze class, the gold class, sorry, until radiator damage. I think radiator damage is maybe a bit harsh towards the driver there. It was obviously a driver error that caused damage. It went in the rear of another car which had damaged it. So that
What we're hearing is, though, with respect that Ferrari, I think that triggered it, had stopped in the pit lane, almost like he was trying to stretch the stint time just before it got to the time of being and create a bit of traffic jam. But as far as we're aware, it's on the checklist that's not been investigated. So, yeah, maybe it was unlucky, maybe it was an error. Well, it depends who you talk to, doesn't it?
yeah, it's went to a side effect, sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, the car's not in the race, so and it was a radiator that stopped it going back.
Absolutely right. Big shame. Because, again, we made the point yesterday about how much better the McLaren's were. We have still one of them, relatively speaking, for a class result. Third in silver, currently he's got to take a orange fast with. Also running third in gold. Second in gold, Victory to Cyril Pesha. CSA Racing up to 59 to the other car. Yeah, Joseph Lowe last night.
Failure on the right side and then was thrown into garage and unable to continue with either of those cars at that point. But they did get the 58 out there, so probably effort from them on that front.
So then gold leader drops downhill. So the lead gap, Nielsen to Pryning, 3.4 seconds. Thomas Pryning left a fraction faster last time, but only by a tenth. So again, probably don't get too carried away by that because it's just harder to gauge whether that's general pace is improving. But Nielsen with when he crossed the beam, 15 hours and just under 42 minutes done. This is your bronze leader. It's a really strong lineup, this, isn't it? David Pittar, I think you probably say is the star in that. The Nürburgring 24-hour winner from 3 years back. Leighton Flory, who was leading the ADACT Championship. James Callan, who's really been very rapid in genetics before coming to last year. And the man behind it all, the irrepressible Darren Lewin, who epitomises what a GT driver is all about, really. He's massively enthusiastic, massively competitive, and massively good for a bronze, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's compassionate as well, Owen, and in terms of how he's helping young drivers through. And just looking at the drive time for these bronze drivers, the bronze class, they've got to do a minimum of 4 hours. And at the moment, this 991 car down low, he's going to have to do another 2 stints at the end of this one. The interesting one at the moment is Dustin Bradner has done a drive time of 2 hours and 51 minutes. And that's quite an awkward amount, so he's still got to do another hour and 9 minutes. And that's more than a single stint. So interesting to see how they navigate that one. The 12 car, the final bronze class podium car, Gabriele Riccone in that car. It's just a single more stint for that car. So the 12 car could get a big leg up here as the bronze race driver. Only needs to do one more in there. So I'll keep an eye on all of
2 in 11th place now, Morris Schuring, and 10, Robbie Knudsen is 33rd, so that lead is 10. Schuring, I think, is still on that lead lap, so we've got Triple B now, they are still going. Let's have another look further down the order. There's the 87 Wimbledon car in bronze, and 65 is your silver leader. That's the white Ford Mustang. That's why it's pushed forward for Racing America. So that's a long way to go. Yeah, absolutely right. So that's Paul Ricard and 2 sprint races to be bolted together. See that drives there, trying to get himself up through the traffic. Gets on the inside of 87, which is the bronze Winwood car. That's Renault Sanikov at the wheel of it. Comes up now towards the timing line, so the Mustang rumbles by. That's Rice, who's gone from Formula 4 to 88 senior GT. We've not really seen a GT World Challenger before, but the say he's looking pretty fancy in a minute. And although he's had to work his way through the traffic, that last lap at 2:22, okay, slower than a few of those around him. Big battle going on behind, where you can see Forger and Mercedes going toe to toe, dropping down the hill. But in silver, it's Mustang going nicely. And don't forget, there are only 2 Fords in the race, and they're both in the top 40.
Yeah, the other one will be much higher up had it not had to do a drive-through penalty for speeding over Concourse Yellow, of course. This is our silver company. This is silver graded drivers, that sort of young professional level of driver. I have to say, shout out to Philip Wheelhouse and Matthew Rooster. That's the averages on the very last goal. So that car, it's in a different class, but towards the end of the race, I think that's going to be in the mix if they keep those 2 drivers to run to the end.
Interesting that. So we've got the Prince Jeffrey Abraham Corvette here. Now this is leading in Pro Am. It is Prince Jeffrey Abraham at the wheel. It's in 34th place. Okay, it's dropped away in terms of overall, but if you're here in Pro Am, it's the class you're concerned with anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find some space. He's had a couple of rough laps with traffic. So last time by it was a 2:27 and the leaders are on an 18. And that's easily done once you get overtaken by a few cars, you go offline, and again you get some pickup on the tyres, and it's just trying to clear the pickup off. And the car can feel very benign. We saw it in British GT last weekend actually, Optimum Robbie Dibble boxed on the end of the formation, I think in a puncture where it was just pickup. And the rubber gets stuck. To clear it is a big effort. As a driver, it's like writing with your non-dominant hand. It just feels a bit odd, a bit benign, and you're just unable to commit to it. Before you know it, you've made a big mess of what's going on. But now, this Zero Corvette looks to be in a happy place pace-wise, and they're really looking behind at the 999 car. So we go from the lowest number car, 0, although not in the future, which only 0 is one number, to 999, the highest. And at the moment, the gap is 20 seconds to that Mercedes. So the Corvette will be under strict instruction just to find their metronomic pace, start hitting their breakpoints, their gear shifts nice and smooth. Also, just to look after the car awareness, will stay off some curbs and keep the energy out of it if possible.
Pretty sure everyone's now done those technical pit stops as well, the 5 minute, which people took in the night when we had that 30-minute battery repair period after Sarah Rowley's big accident. And for the teams there, that's done. They can now concentrate on bringing the cars to the end of the race. So there's your race leader. It is Nicholas Nielsen. 2.9 seconds up on Thomas Briley last time. And in the background you can see the white Porsche. There it is. Lights are flashing. Still find it extraordinary. The car has been able to get from that pit lane start. It was an engine change. That's why the regulations as imposed by the stewards put the car to the pits. They've done it in a favour in a sense because they were out of jeopardy behind it. They were the first lap accident, but then had they qualified on pole, they'd have been ahead of the accident. So you might be takes your choice, but the Lion Speed team, after, let's face it, a pretty tough start to the Endurance Cup season with a car being blitzed at Monza, the power steering failure of Paul Ricard, had a power steering problem at Brands in Sprint Cup Race 1, admittedly won the second, but again, tempting fate I know with 8 hours to go, but it's going nicely. That was made very good progress. And with Ricardo and Bastian Bruce and the other drivers, it's a good strong line about that, although I think you were saying Bastian Bruce is average pace mega.
Slightly off, but that's why data can sometimes be misleading. Of course, I don't know what happened through the night. It's taking a top 60% for the average, so it does drop even of course, was going to do an engine change, but then decided against it. And again, a danger on that one. Not sure if that was the right call. They would have had a large stopping go penalty as well as the pit start. So I think that's what feels like the speed truck guys. That car is quite far down, so it's obviously nursing a long engine issue.
Yeah, the stop go that would have been imposed would have been just over a lap, wouldn't it? So the gap, I think, was. Let's not bother with that. And take pain. We have seen great far from that car also through. There is Thomas Browning there into the large speed Porsche. So he's looking pretty decent this morning. He, one of the many DTM champions indeed, one of the race. I'll tell you what was the race and how the DTM in recent seasons got rid of its silver tour car for that, got the GT3 route, which is another big tick for GT3 celebrating 20 years in existence this year. Thomas Browning came to prominence as a World Cup champion in Germany, pushing on, and 1.7 seconds back he was last time. In the first sector he was 10th, in the second sector he's gained half a second. So Thomas Browning is on a mission, no question about it. And the gap is virtually nothing at all this time as they come through, bearing in mind the small pit before the Porsche. The gap look as they come across the line could be up for a second even. They will break the beat. It's 9/10 of a second, so this is just on for the race lead. We start that 348, 8 hours, 8 minutes to go, and 80 is the Porsche to watch.
The gap 991 is the previous generation Porsche. We're now the 992. Of course, they'll generate 1,000 off. But the only thing I would say is Nick Nelson's had to navigate that traffic. We've seen him get through it very efficiently. Maybe Nelson not quite as lucky. There's a CSA McLaren just leaving pit exit now, so I think Nelson might get the speed on him, but maybe Priding not. That's the ebb and the flow of the traffic. Next car up will be the 33rd. Actually, Cal getting in front of Nelson, although the vain efforts of the headlight flasher, this could come back to the 80 even better now.
And they come on, they go. So as you look there down the pit lane, we've got more of the get-speed cars cycling through a pit stop. And out rumbles, I think it's 999, isn't it? Get-speed Team PCX car, Patrick Charlet, Jordan Boisson, Marvin Klein, Benjamin Pack. Drivers from 16th place down the pit lane now. Matthew Sagazetta. Single Caesar racing. He's got pretty good in the sprint cup, certainly class winner rounds, wasn't he, from Everett? And adapting well as Sagazetta to GT cars. Runner-up in British Formula 4 a few years ago before doing the Formula Regional Formula 3 route. A car that runs in silver. Meanwhile, race leader through pit path and climbing, taking to the curb. Now that he can see the car that he's chasing and knows that he's got a real opportunity to assert himself, it is a Porsche being pushed even further. So climbing from the pits, now chasing Nielsen from pole for the race lead. Could have thought that.
My only fear with the Porsches, I was just looking back at the start of the race, the pace was not there for this car. So as it heats up, I'm sure what track temp is now, but it's going to be in the mid-30s. As it gets back about 40, maybe back about 50, is it going to go away and then go back to the Ferrari? Maybe Lightspeed know that, and now they've got to pounce and get in front of the Ferrari and try and dictate this race. Nielsen looking ever more panicked with the traffic in front. That was too wide.
And he's almost getting crowded out, and the gap's going to open up for the Porsche on the inside. And Thomas Browning has read that beautifully because the road opened up for him. He's got the lead coming out of the chicane, and he's going to go ahead of the 2-seat Mercedes as they come past the pit. So we've got a new race leader, and he's been down on the track, not in the pits. Thomas Browning leads up towards Lassals. Porsche leads at Spa now. Ferrari second. Mara Engel's car is in third place. Mercedes, which has been dropping away fractionally over the last few laps. But Nielsen, look, he's not satisfied with second. He's riding the wheel tracks. He's going to get a turn heading out of Rally along the Campbell Straights, and he may well be back in front by the time we get to Licon. Let's see, there's a Van Graham priming the race leader. We're second. We're in the Ferrari. We're heading up towards Licon now. And Grinding needs to make a decision as to whether he's going to pounce on that slower McLaren. It's James Catt, isn't it? Ahead of him in 21st place in the CSA car. He doesn't catch it, never mind trying to pass him. So Grinding now needs to work out the best place to land that car.
Cal is on a brand new set of tyres, so for the first 5 laps, I think they're going to struggle to catch him. Cal fast as well. CSA preparing a good car, of course. Interesting as soon as we went on board in Nielsen, the Porsche looks fast in a straight line, unable to stay with him forever because of the dirt. Yeah, I also think there's contact between Nielsen and Noble in the Mercedes. The bus stop looked for contact on the left side of the Ferrari. Puff of smoke came up there. I just worry about punching. So contact there first Marshall, and the slightest of contacts can lead to damage, of course.
Wilson is on one. They are reset every 6 hours. So we've got another couple to go before there's a recess. So Friday now, he's got the race lead, but he now needs to, dare I say, race in a little bit, because the last thing they need, having got this far up the order from the pit lane, is a penalty.
Exactly that. So they got a huge motivation for that to one more track limit in 2 hours and 5 minutes. What's he doing there? He's just really trying to show his intense James Kell. And it shows you how much good these guys have got. They can fly around left and right like that, and he sticks to the floor. As by the looks of it, so of course, team not happy. Kell now rolls out with the throttle, so he's probably a little bit fit for the front. He's willing to slot now like that.
He also had to move back in the car because the Porsche would have been with him for over a lap. So eventually, because if the car that's lapping you is within a given distance of 2 seconds consecutively, then you get the blue flag in the car, don't you?
Yeah, I'm sure that poor
Race control for all teams. We have a slow car entering turn 9.
Voice of Niels Vintage, turn 9 is Speaker's corner. So
this is the CSA car, the 555, there we go. I'm trying to see what's wrong with them at the moment, but front left punch would be my first guess.
lost the point to wheel of it. And as the car comes down the hill, staying out of the way, there's a puncture. There's a Ferrari in second place, so Nicholas Nielsen trying now to get back on terms with Thomas Priming as they come down to Bruxelles. A good stint this by Priming, a really nice move to get the lead really nicely. And they, of course, though, with much shaking of heads, not happy at all. A bit of consternation on what's happened here now. Panic seems to set in, so
Slow car now between turn 11 and turn 12 on driver's left.
So if it is just only a puncture, it is, isn't it? It's got a bit of come down as well, though, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's damage on the brake there.
But it's now.
Sometimes the drivers actually are asked to turn the ABS off and ride their left foot on the brake to stop the wheel
Slow
from
car
rotating,
exit turn 13 on driver's left.
to stop it flailing around. So maybe that's what's going on there.
When we had an earlier situation with slow cars on track yesterday evening,
Slow car between turn 14 and 15 on driver's right.
just talking about how calm Niels Vintage, the race director, is in all of this. There's no panic in his voice to alarm the teams. They're just giving us straightforward information. And it is guiding, if you're guiding the car, remember that. Every corner there's an update teach message.
We have another car stopped in turn 18. Please respect the yellow flag there.
And 18 is the chicane.
Mustang.
64, there it is. So that is, as you see, Fabio Schiera. He was in 14th, and he has had a rotation, but whether it's been a
Slow car now in turn 16.
So let's see how he got there. Look at the replay, just seems to go straight up like the car didn't want to turn, where he missed his braking point. But the fact that it's stopped is bad news. I think get going.
I think he's lost power. I think he's just had to bear there. He's probably realised he hasn't got momentum to get back to pit lane. He's quickly made the right decision of just getting out of the way, but for me, that's lost all power. Good driving there from Gautier to get out of the way. And of course, this could get full Courgette, so the next driver needs to be ready on short notice.
Absolutely, Bastien Boost getting ready. Maybe Boost, depending on the temperature, could do a double
Slow
stint.
car approaching turn 18.
Yes, a double stint for Boost will make it a double course.
The only thing the teams need to be worried on here is that if the full Courgette is cool for the Mustang, is this car going to be going straight?
Track is clear, slow car is in the pit lane, and the car in the runoff in turn 18 is about to rejoin as well.
Elizabeth is going to send us a bit of this thing for his commentary at this point, because he's sorted out the car of the pits and the Mustang ready to get going. No, it is. Well, it's moving. I mean, you get the feeling that's gravity more than anything else. He's just letting you roll away. And how cruel is this? You can see the pit lane. You can almost wave to the team. But Fabio Schiera not able to get the car going. The lights not on either. Trying to get them fired up.
It's too far for the marshals to grab it though, isn't it? Still, and I think you're right, the gravity's got him there, but no further.
But if the marshal's got to the car, they probably pull it back, wouldn't they, to that access point. He wants them to push him to get going. But the fact that it hasn't fired up clearly proves this is a problem. Was that the one you said with the pit lane drive-through last night?
Yeah, sequel shows.
Yeah.
And some teams, there's so many permutations. I remember doing the Smart 24 here in the V12 Arches back in the day. We would train as drivers on how to change the campo, and if that failed, we would take the bonnet off. And the teams tell the drivers, if you have this, I can't see being anything but a short full course yellow, which would close pit entry. Of course, the drivers need to be ready, but I don't think this would be a long to safety car full course yellow.
True enough. I suppose it kind of depends how they move it. If they put it back behind the access gate, that's dead easy. If they want to move it there and pull it into the pit lane, you need to get a vehicle across there, and that might take a bit more logistics. So all of that's happening at the moment in race control.
Attention all teams, pit entry closed, short full course yellow in 20 seconds.
Okay, so we are at just after 8:30 in the morning, and we're going full course yellow for car
10
64.
seconds.
10-second count comes from race control, and Valentino Rossi heads up the hill.
3, 2, 1, full course yellow, full course yellow.
Full course yellow is called, and it's to move 64 Mustang. Can't quite see it from out of our window on our left-hand side, but that's where the work will be done. Now everybody has to go at this delta speed. So Thomas Breining is the race leader, and this is the car in second place. And both of these teams getting ready for a stop. Now Breining, by the end of this lap, will have done, if he comes into the pit lane, around about 41 minutes, and Nielsen will have done around about 48 minutes. So it will be early for a pit stop, but they're going to try and take advantage. But if it's a short full course yellow, does that change the plan for the teams?
Yeah, they've got to just keep with what they've got. It doesn't really help or hinder anyone who are on board with the 51. You can see the lights flashing on the dash, just showing to the drivers we're turning the wrong way. It's trying to direct someone back into your garage. The Ferrari, interesting, all in second gear, so it's down and keep the jumps down. It's ready to go.
But when they put the Mustang, this was what I was sort of touching on a moment ago. If it goes behind the barrier there,
Attention all team,
Yeah, exactly.
but if they got it in the pit,
short notice, full yellow ending.
right, full course yellow ending on short notice, the car's out of harm's way, and let's see how Nicky Nielsen rejoins.
So we're going to go down into first gear, ready for a restart. Look for the green flag. And they got it away. Nice restart. Look at the jump he's got that right in front. And I have to say this Ferrari as it dives to the left. Seems to have like a boost activation at the full course yellow. Maybe the driver just riding the left foot on the brake to build the turbo pressure. But it launches off that 80k point. And they seem to just always gain half a second each time. But look at the gap to boost in front. That was a telling story, wasn't it? Just before we went, Nielsen unable to get through the traffic as efficiently as the last car.
Yeah, Thomas Breining then in the lead car. Basti who's waiting his turn. Same as Cruz Mustang getting ready to get on board from Nicholas Nielsen, keeping Alessio Rovera no doubt fresh for when they need it at the end of the race, which is now just under 8 hours away. Third place, Mara Engel, still there or thereabouts. I don't think Mercedes has ever been the gun car, but of course they had a back range for points. It's up now at the 6 and 12 hour mark, so that's done well. And we were also about the 74 Kessel Ferrari, because that did lead overall during the night, and it's a shame that he's dropped back to second in draft, but Matthew Jobert fighting on, and the bronze battle far from over. We're pretty sure that the Nicky team accident is done, I'm afraid to say, after that suspension drama after he had the spin and Clipper running on 22 course drive. Quick look at now, which is Ian Schuber. That looked back to yesterday evening when he is now down in ninth place. The Porsche emphasis has shifted, but he is going after Marcello's BMW here, so Cooper still in the mix for a place. Enrique Chavez, 7th in the Valkyrie Aston, that remember, got T-bone, he was up on 2 wheels, look, he did roll on that first race, that Alex got this far, I still can't quite believe it.
Yeah, they're a bit of a strong pro drive, don't they, in Banbury there. They'll be pleased on the development that went into that car. Yeah, this Porsche trying to get past Marcello at the moment. It's got such a good lineup, hasn't it? Google in the car at the moment, but Campbell and Kaweki as well. So, yeah, there's a strong lineup, but they just don't seem to have the pace in that car compared to the land speed. Of course, it's exactly the same cars. They all get to the same point, but the teams have quite a large freedom and setup on it, of course. So it seems like Landspeed may be extracting a bit more pace out of that car than this CLRT version.
Yeah, let's see what Cooper can do in the straight line. The reigning DTM champion now heading into the sunshine once more. It does feel cooler this morning. The big storm, as you know, last night sent some sting out the temperature. Not just here, but I think also the heat wave was starting to dip around Europe as Marcello turns his way through the corner. I should move right there behind him. Marcello, of course, somebody that's dovetailing these GT3 well outings along with WEC hypercar. Still feels to me as though GT3 car is more natural for Rafael than first yellow we had, the one yellow we had before it's sport, the motorsport games were here. Sabayology victorious, and probably Turkey's best racing export now is lining up as we get a good one at BMW because he's just edged nearer over the course of this lap.
Damage on the rear bar, and you just notice, sorry, it looks like the exhaust just started to mount the rear bumper. Just been going on for a while. We saw it also on another Porsche, so maybe the exhaust just ever so slightly too short, which is strange because that has been out for a while. It is an even car this year, so maybe it's just a little bit on the road program. Maybe with the engine being so high, it's just put it into a new parameter there. But I'm going to keep an eye on that, so the car will get very hot and it needs to get to fire. But Marshall just got the pace of Guven. It feels like Guven's very strong in the brake zone. That's his only chance, is a super late break, and the best chance for it. Hostile just been and to turn one, that's just coming up.
So traffic up the road as well. Over the line they go. The car that they are chasing is the Enrique Chavez Aston Guven fakes to the inside. Marciello says, no, that's not serious really. You're not going to try there, are you? And the BMW moves across, so you've got that very sort of touring car style GT3 racer against the so familiar Porsche. Yeah, they've got bigger over the years, but it's still that 911 shape within there. Joe, is that probably what you were talking about?
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? It's just melted all the way through and up. An interesting point to me anyway is if it were to rain and they had to turn their rain light on, I don't believe that rain light is there anymore. I believe it's been mounted out of the way. It'd be an interesting one for race control. Not going to happen. Weather's perfect.
Absolutely right. Traffic up the road though ahead of this battle between Marciello and Guven. Behind them in 10th place now, it just had a change because Maurice Schuring has got 2 wins of BDX Porsche into the top 10 because Jordan Pepper has boxed. So he's brought the WRT car to the pit lane. But yeah, if Marciello's life is tough right now with Guven behind him, it's going to get very tough shortly, isn't it, with all of those back markers ahead. Because as they go around Brussels, there's at least 4 that they are 5 indeed further around the road.
Yeah, and it's top 6 Mustang, and then Chavez at the back of that as well. So the traffic we saw really favour Barney, didn't we? That's how he got the lead from Nick Nelson in the Ferrari. And again, it's just risk versus reward. As a driver, when you're trying to get through the traffic, you're aggressive, you show intent. But for me, the good drivers always have a plan B, an escape course. So I want to go down the inside, but if the car turns in, what am I going to do? Can I anchor on the top of the line? Can I cut to the inside and get past to avoid contact? And Marshall doesn't avoid contact. The exit there, the gravel trap. You can hear the bang. The gravel trap has been blown away. A trench has been dug. And these cars now, as they push on, it isn't just gravel. They're hitting concrete into the floor.
It doesn't do the car any good at all. There it is. Yes. Marciello's trench. We used to have it on Silverstone. James Weaver created it in a European touring car race. And on a very muddy road. Silverstone. And Weaver's trench related to Johnny Herbert built it over a few years later. It was another Silverstone race. So we'll let Marciello take credit for this one because he's the first one to really prove the rock. A big step back behind the car there is.
Yeah, and it really bottomed up the car as well. It's like an accolade. You can see just in time for it. And we're somewhere to hear what Marshall says about that one in front. Something was very hot. Maybe the pressures are up and he's getting up the still. Maybe the low still potentially there. But, yeah, it's the strange thing with radio technology. We've moved away from analog to digital, so it's much clearer. But the bass of the voice has been lost now. So it's clear but not audible, if that makes any sense. You need to penetrate your eardrums as well. It's the same in the car as we do see Reese clear the traffic nicely, but he does bring Chavez with it.
Absolutely. This is a battle for position now for 6th place. Look, the Rover engineers trying to address Marciello's concerns about this understeer coming out of Le Coq. Lots of dust kicked into the air right ahead of Chavez. That couple of markers taking Marciello and Guven back to as they come now around Brussels. So the Porsche with a slightly tighter line, but the wrong place to try. I think now Guven's best option is going to be if Marciello just gets ever so slightly impeded by the traffic. As they come down the hill, it looks close to Herbert, number 91 Porsche that's going to be the first target if they drop into the corner. Dujanek, the wheel there, going through Poor, and yes, the BMW stuck behind 91, the Bronx Porsche. Garnet Patterson, Silverstone British GT winner in treble 2 seats, can't play on the inside, goes Marciello, and Guven, having seen the door open, tries to follow suit, but actually ends up the wrong side of the Porsche. Get on the bike straight away, get out of the way.
Yeah, exactly.
spot, hasn't he, in IMSA, both in GTP last year and GTD prior to that. Here, up towards the chicanes. Marciello still ahead of Guva. Garner Patterson, the Australian driver, lets them go. Guva tries to get all the way around. Pay off for him, but what he is doing here, pressure is very concerned. Track tap now failing. They got lifts the stamp and sends it up the inside. The corner. Porsche has gone back alongside, so Guva through, but why? Marciello with the BMW booms back up alongside. It's going to be Guva's line for part one of our route. They just touched. Marciello's got the line for the second part. Guva is forced off the road. Marciello's off the road as well, and they're still toe to toe going up the hill, making their way up towards Lake Orvis. 356, 7 and 3/4 hours to go. They touch again. Guva is not defeated on. This is his best chance yet. Last of the late breakers to Lake Orvis. Guva on the outside. Marciello retakes the place. Fantastic racing.
Neither one of them wants to yield. Today's given set again. This is a touring car race, not a 24-hour GT. Has got them done here, and I think Marciello is going to be very pleased. I think there can be more contact here. Marciello not happy with the dive bomb into turn one. Still side by side into Luke.
And they went down with Marciello back on the inside to retake the place. And Guva, at least for a couple of corners, is going to have to slot back in behind. And you can imagine Marciello saying, right, let's show you. But, I am Guva. Tells you everything you need to know about that battle. Never mind in cockpit, but nonetheless, Rover car, the Rover Racing BMW, 8th place, they're squabbling over. And actually through pit back, Marciello has got away on left. To regroup and go again, but that was
It really was, but basically not happy because he had to.
After Leclerc, great recovery since you had a contact yesterday with a back marker. Great job into the night. How is it this morning here as well?
It's okay, we are struggling a little bit for my first hit. I was just really doing evaluation. I think just the load time is not really helping car. And then the late morning was a little bit better, but still we are a bit behind than the others, especially with Porsche. Hopefully we find some pace on the weekend.
Temperatures are rising, so it's gonna come your way.
Yeah, I hope the race is still long, the finish, so maximum motions again.
Thanks, Hunter.
That's going to help the pit stories this morning. Back on shift. And you've got 54 over there with Lilu Wadu at the wheel. And this is the car that has been early on. It's also, from memory, had a pit lane speeding offence. Shot the line. Third driver. Alpha Leclerc in turn 6 down in that car. Lilu Wadu has been a GTD champion in IMSA. And the car's currently in lap 358. 7 and 3/4 hours of the race to go. So it is Porsche leading, and although we've not touched on Thomas Private for a few laps, we've been busy with the Porsche Ryan Guva. He's just edged away, hasn't he, from Nicholas Nielsen, who was at the pit stop. Nielsen just done an hour of his stint shortly at second place.
Yeah, exactly. The battle rages between the Mustang and the Aston. They were side by side. So it's a few laps late. Early did we Google got the side draft. Doesn't look like the Aston has anything to respond to that Mustang's performance.
So Rice keeping fifth and Enrique Chavez in the Aston Martin that they have done such an astonishing job with keeping going after all the contact and the big crash at the start of the race that we've seen in the highlight reel. So up the hill they go. Rice way clearing Silver. He's fifth overall. The next Silver car is 17th. So there's quite a buffer there. But Max Rice doing a good job racing at this level for the first time. Turns now in through the Licorne sequence. Enrique Chavez also trying to exercise some demons from last year. Remember that he crashed at Superpole, did enough damage to put the car out of the race. They never started last year. Must have thought it was not his race again this year when he saw that on the first proper racing lap, lap 2 of the race. But there they are in the mix on the lead lap and fighting for the Mustang. And there behind is Marcello versus Google. Come down, it's 40.28 seconds. So behind Enrique Chavez is the BMW Porsche 5 for 7 and 8 places. Don't think Chavez on this part of the circuit can do very much about that Mustang. It's through the twin limits where the Aston has a slight advantage, but anywhere that there's power needed, the Mustang just sort of saddles up and gets away.
Yeah, and then the power makes that overtake easier. That's the other problem with that element. So more traffic up the road as well. And a relatively slow Mercedes, so this could really liven up.
Just going back to this battle, both Marciano and Gouven have had a driving standards flag. They're both on full track anymore. Yeah, it's been a fierce fight, but maybe the teams have done been saying, all right, okay, we have trophy places, but let's just calm down because the last thing we need is to go down on the towards penalty zone.
It was on foot before we cut the top of my roof and they went side by side. I'm amazed he's not been given a penalty. Six track limit warning, sorry, is a 30-second penalty. We're still an hour and 40 minutes away from that happening. So they've got a huge amount of laps to do, probably another 20 laps, 6 opportunities a lap to do track limits. So it sounds easy, but it's very hard. As Google tries to go around the outside now and using that traffic, and it didn't happen in the end.
He's also not being held, not only in terms of cars lapping, but look, he's got a McLaren unlapping itself alongside the Garage 59 car there, trying to fight back because they go down the hill. He's not climbing at the wheel, and Tom's got nothing to lose in all of this. That car is now 28 laps down on the lead car, so just go for it, improving his pace. But if you're in a battle, you don't want some pesky back marker in your mirror.
Fleming rolled out of it, and in fairness, he could have made it a problem. I think he was just showing Google if he wanted to, he could get past, but he's going to have to sit there and just pretend he's in this new battle.
So the Licorne sequence, they come in terms of stint time. Marcello 59 minutes, Google 57. Might anticipate perhaps Google to be able to go a lap longer here as we get a replay of the dramas from earlier. This was when they tried to use the traffic to their advantage, but it was not to be, and then was Fleming coming up on the inside, Google slightly away.
Yeah, Fleming's actually let Sherrick through in that other Porsche behind Google very fairly as well. So Sherrick's getting on the back of this battle as well. So this could be a Mustang from Aston, from BMW, from 2 Porsches, all fighting ultimately for a top 5 place.
Nielsen is in the pit lane now, second spot now. So Tommaso Mosca we've seen standing by, haven't we? So we expect a driver change. Meanwhile, we're looking at the fight going on for 5th, the fight going on for 7th. And this was the big dive, and Gouven up the inside. Nothing wrong with that from where I'm standing. There was no contact. Marcello may not have liked it, but hard luck, it's hard racing.
Yeah, it looked better from the outside. There was the first touch. I think that was fair. I couldn't really apportion blame on why that happened. Marcello probably not happy with Gouven taking the cut, and then this was Farfus's reaction to this. Listen to that contact. I mean, 250 kilometres an hour, banging side by side, 150 miles an hour, and it goes on for another 2 or 3 corners. But still, side by side, all the way down. Ourselves, Gouven now dives to the inside, just gets the Marcello. I think he's wary. He has to give him the space. I would expect Marcello not reach close to him. He knows if he does, there'll be contact, and they keep going on. Good racing ultimately.
Maybe, as you say, Gouven did get a penalty for that offence. It's kind of big there. There was contact coming into the corner, and he really didn't know where to go. That was the line he was given after the head shoulder from Marcello. Right, coming down the pit lane is Max Rice. before finally it comes to place, but he's got to pit on the next lap.
So we'll see if the undercut, which normally is stronger because you get that new set of tyres on. So it's a new tyre up lap versus an old tyre in lap. And then normally it's something also faster. The team get to work cleaning the windscreen. Marcello walks away from their Farfus inside the guy. You can see the Brazilian flag on the side of his helmet. He was happy with the racing he was watching. This is time now to rectify it.
Farfus massively experienced, keeping an eye on this, and also, as you would, an eye on what's going on at Croft, which is where Ginetti's G-Fest is taking place. Why do I mention that? Because he also races in Ginetti Juniors for Copenhagen team. So all these intertwined aspects as far as Croft.
Yeah, and the garages are next door, so Farfus is next door to Caroline here. So yeah, Ancestral Motorsport continues all the time, and looks like they've bridged the gap nicely, haven't they, to the Mustang. Of course, the gap will grow when they take their limiters off. But remember, they were around 4 seconds separated. It's been a good pit stop by the looks of it from Rover Racing.
So this is 51, still being shown as Nicholas Nielsen, actually. So what we've seen Tommaso Mosca getting ready, the looming around on the timing screen is still saying Nicholas Nielsen behind the wheel, Danish driver, that Ferrari Challenge champion, Le Mans winner, coming up through Paul Frère, and now slightly fresher boots. Remember, it's running a bit out of sequence relative to number 80, which is going to be in the end of this next lap or the run after.
Yeah, the reckon they do want small pass just to stretch that stint. It's a 65-minute allowance because we have that short full yellow, so normally just 60 minutes. And this one is 5 longer. If you want a couple laps, closer to the finish.
Is 51, confirming it is the wheel. So although Mosca was ready, Nicholas is staying in the car out there. In the meantime, he's a rather positive. The new driver on the kits of Ferrari. So that car, which was dominating bronze, clearly had drivers in the night. They had to put a new door on the car. Partly the thing would be the other one, if it was a big team, they wouldn't lap check or so needs to put a new one on. It's going to close, which you need on the stops. Antti Schubert is behind the wheel of the champion. But now, very known as being part of the Genesis hypercar program, and also been very rapid in Porsche the previous seasons, and still leading in the class, and has got this way second in the class, has decked the pit lane comes Thomas Bryan, so that was pretty much on the out as he broke the lead with pitting.
I suppose they didn't take the extra lap like I thought. Maybe they're wide of the undercut, the new tyre for Nielsen, and they're just trying to keep it off to keep track position.
We're on 5 track limit warnings now, and they've got an hour and 35 minutes to play numbers. In grinding, he's going to give way to Bastian Boo. Sebastian needs to be ultra precise.
This is the race we're talking about. This car needs to get that passes with the Great GT car going very slowly. That's in a bad position. If the full pressure comes out now, anyone in pit lane
A slow car on the starting grid. F1 pit lane of drivers left. Please ask all drivers to stay on the right.
He's waiting to the black shirt, the official ring large on the clothing. That's the voice you just heard. Tommy Pintos in the wheel. It has grabbed to a whole right outside of our window here on the F1 pit straight. And Tommy Pintos trying to get the car to fire up again. The control alt resets. Meanwhile, down the pit lane comes Bryony. And let's see whether he jumps. Yes, he will. Bastian Boo's ready to go.
If there's a full pressure on Angle, who's still out at the end of his stint, anyone that's still out there has a huge chance to win. Cooper Schuring will be in this lap. Chavez as well. So if there's a full pressure, he will be.
Attention all teams. Focus yellow in 20 seconds.
This is a big shake-up. Unfortunately for this car, they've already been in pit lane for a minute and 30. So until they go
10 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Focus yellow. Focus yellow.
And the car's got going. Can you believe it? It's got to be a short one, surely, because the road is clear. That's just what race control could do without in non-certain terms. You plan everything, you announce it to the teams, you've got to give them the cap, you can't just spring it on them.
Race control, just an info regarding this focus yellow intervention. This one will be followed with a safety car plus wayback procedure. Just the normal 24-hour procedure.
You can see here
On top of that, all the sweepers and the front box will enter the track and try to clean as much as possible everything off the circuit.
So what do you think if we we've kind of got ourselves into this situation. We might as well make the best of it.
We did declare it as a short full course yellow, didn't he? I think he knew he couldn't because he closed by entry. There was lots of cars that needed to pit because they're at the end of their stint time. So they're full course yellow, the full team, and that's the resentment in his voice, I think, for him. I've got to do with it. I know the car's gone. Full course yellow, so I've got to go safety car. I'm now going to logically use this to now clean the track as well. But look at the gap. So they effectively won about 12 seconds over the Ferrari because they're only under full course yellow for their last 15 seconds. If you do a full green stop to a full course yellow stop, you gain 3.2 kilometers with the speed difference being 33 meters per second. So you effectively gain in under 15 seconds. And that's what Engel was about to get. But now he's not. There will still be an advantage, and he will probably lead this race as we go back to safety car, as my prediction. The 48 will be in front of the 80, which will then be in front of the 51.
So a bit of shuffle around, and this is these days how endurance races can be won and lost. Have all the strategies in the world, but if something like that just comes out of nowhere, as you're making the point, Porsche was sort of midway through its pit stop when we went to that full course yellow. So AF Corsa, bit of a snakes and ladders kind of race, isn't it? Goes well, puncture, slide down, fight all the way back up. Full course yellow affects the strategy, slide back down again.
Yeah, I think this is going to bring 46 into the race as well. Quite nicely, Rossi aboard the car. Interestingly, just looking at the track map, at the moment, obviously cars may box in between, but the Lightspeed Porsche to the Ferrari has 5 cars of lap traffic in between. We're going to get a wave around as well, so that might filter some of the map. But that lap traffic can really help as Engel does finally box.
Now, just answer me something else. We've got, as an example, let's take Enrique Chavez, who's pitted recently. He's only been on track for 3 minutes. Is there any benefit to them bringing him back in? Because we know this is going to be a long yellow if there's a safety car. Is there any benefit to doing that, or are they just wasting time? As a Marshall's found a massive chunk of bodywork in his general care. That's a McLaren piece of bodywork. You can see off the livery. We'll come to that in a second. Just talk about that strategy. Is there any benefit to doing a number of short kind of flash and dash type stops?
Yeah, less so now that the car physically has to stop, engine off and go, and it just adds a few seconds. But again, the engineer's working from the race backwards, the race end backwards there, and just working out, actually, if we do stop for 4 minutes now, that could delete a stop later on. And with the stops being so long here, really a lap 2 minutes, or lap time 2 minutes 20, it just throws you into strategy at the option. The top teams don't take that because they can maybe win the race normally, but those teams on the outside of the top 6 for sure, maybe will start to roll some dice, and we'll keep an eye on those rolls to see how they fall.
And that's what we tried to do last year, wasn't it, to get second place. I suppose also the engineers now, if they're, well, they have to be on the money, they're not only looking at their car, but they're also looking at the cars that they're in a battle with to work out what their strategy is and might be to try and capture that off, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Just starting to look towards the end of the race of what they could do on historical data. And it is pretty close whether there is one extra stop or not. So at the moment, potentially could get to the end of this race with just 7 more stops, of course. But it is right nip and tuck. A few more full course yellows makes it easier as we look at the race here between Chavez and Engel. So Chavez has won really good there, isn't he? He's jumped quite a few positions on that one. So a good pit stop from Barclays.
Also a driver change in the 991 bronze leading BMW. Leighton Ferrari in, Darren Rowan out, and Carl still in the mix. And you're right about Valentino Rossi, number 46 BMW. That come into the equation on merit during the night, and it's still, to use the terminal phrase, down or thereabouts. But it's going to be interesting to see the other side of what's going to be a safety car period, where we stand. The teams knowing that there's going to be a safety car period. They are going to make things tidy up. There was Enrique Chavez who pitted fractionally earlier than Engel's car, and pit stop time that Chavez did was 2 minutes and 1 second. Now that is the March yellow car, isn't it? Into the pit box, or is that Paradigm? It's Paradigm. So 991, forgive me, Darren Lewin's car. Late before he was getting into it, but looks like attention to the front of the car. Is this brakes, Joe? Or is this something to do with suspension? I'm not aware of a problem unless that's the technical stop.
We'll look through the legs, see if they've had a 5-minute pit stop.
So that car
is looking closer to rejoining, but still the attention on that front left corner. Team Toby goes about the driver change, but not fast enough to be drivers as back into the race also goes 74. Dustin Blackwood's taken over that car. It is the technical stop that is being done. So yeah, the 5-minute technical pit stop is why 991's come into the garage. So that full course yellow to safety car is kind of a good time for them because they can get the 5-minute stop done and lose less time, relatively speaking, because everyone else is going with slow pace.
Yeah, exactly. That has to be done between hour 11 and hour 22. The race is still got time. The good thing for them is that they're going to have the best brakes. So the team did it earlier, they were actually normal and less bite. So that car pretty much set for a sprint on its brakes for the remaining 7.5 hours of this race.
Now, Nicholas Nielsen is back into the pit lane. He'd done 9 minutes and 40 seconds of a stint, so that goes back to what I was asking about. Is it worth doing these extra stops, these short stops?
Yeah, this is the stop now that makes it definitely only 7 stops right to the end, and that's what they, of course, are doing there, just resetting that part of it. So might see quite a few cars cycling just to make sure that they're A-OK and happy.
And if you want to do a stint reset, is that as straightforward as it used to be, just drive down through the pit lane, or do you now have to actually stop, exit off and restart?
Yeah, latter option.
So slightly differently, you can see lots of sticky tape around the back of the Leighton Flory BMW. It's had its technical pit stop around probably about 5 minutes, so now it will start to lose paces, but better you do the technical stop under this yellow situation.
Yeah, it's about 52 seconds to get exit from there, so they're going to launch any second now across the line after 5 minutes of being in the pit lane. So the team happy with that, had the car back out a good time, and interestingly keep Darren aboard as well, so he's going to use his driver top. Actually, no, sorry, Darren's there to the right, so check him out. I thought they might leave him in just to use up some more of his drive time.
Rossi back out there, so one angle, we'll see whether it's another one. Joe's been making a point, people trying to get these extra stops done so they can divide it on 7 to the end of the race. The Mercedes would seem to drop positions overall, haven't we? Which is inevitable given the way it was in the order.
Yeah, the team too happy. Quite right, they've changed the whole brake system of that car in under 3.5 minutes. When I take my car and it takes them 2 days, it costs me 400 quid in labour, so I understand why they're so happy when I take my car to Harry next time.
So the team controlled by Darren and Simon Trace, who, when he's not doing this, is a very handy Bristol Formula 1 stock car racer. Jay Warren, who's done a lot with WRT as well as touring car teams in the UK joining as well. So good brain trust in that. Darren's enthusiasm really shines through. So there, 991 Rumble's back out across the circuit. So let's see where Rumble's car is in the third sector. Whether 48 is another one that does a stint reset. The answer is no. He's carried on the track, and Bastien Moose is making his way up towards Longchamp, and that car took the lead courtesy of Thomas Brynick, who did a really good job in that previous stint. So Thomas Brynick, we hear from, he's with Nina J. Paul.
Thomas, a spectacular race from you all so far. If somebody told you yesterday that you'd be overtaking Nicholas Nielsen for the lead of this race after starting in the pit lane, would you believe them?
Not really. I think we had high hopes in general, but obviously after the grid penalty, let's call it, for the engine swap, the hopes were a bit smaller. Nevertheless, we had a good car all week, we had a really good team spirit, so we all definitely believed with teamwork we can get to the front at some point. But so far, it's been a really good race. I'm really proud of the whole team. We've all done a good job so far, but it's still a long way to go.
Yeah, it's a long way to go. The temperatures are rising again. What's your mindset for the next 7 to 8 hours?
Well, first of all, we need to make sure we don't get a penalty. We're already a bit on the limit spec limits, so this for the next 1.5 hours until the reset is priority number 1. We just need to stay calm. I mean, it goes so quickly in this championship. We just lost the lead with the full course yellow. It was timed a bit unfortunately, so in the end we just do our race, and in the end when it counts, we need to be there.
Get some rest and some food. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thomas Brynick talks about we're on the limit for track limit warning. He may have contributed in part to that, but anyway, there is the Porsche, and he makes the point that they've lost the lead, and actually not only that, but they've lost a minute and 20 seconds, because that is how the gap is as they come across the line. But it's a kind of irrelevant gap because we know it's going to close under the safety car. We know it's the tail, depends on any other traffic that's not eligible for wave line, but
let us hear from Mathis Jobin, who was in the car in the last stint. He's down in the pit lane, and along with Mathis Jobin is Ganelli.
Mathis Jobin just back into the lead of the bronze class. Talk us through your night. You've been looking for the points for the championship. That was the main goal, and then you're back into the lead.
Yeah, exactly. The goal was to be in the lead for the 6 and 12 hours to score as much points as possible. Mostly we lost some place on the overall classification due to this strategy, but this is not our target, and actually we are leading in this class. Everything goes well, and that's it. Still more than 7 hours to go, so everything is going pretty well.
What about the track conditions, level of grip, tire day right now?
I just jumped out of the gun. Actually, it was my best stint. The grip is very nice. I think also the package we have is quite good with this temp and the track temp lower temp. So let's see. Maybe some rain also at the end of the race. Actually, it's less than a bit more than 1 hour. And great teammates, great team. So
Un petit mot en français, Mathis, à présent pour tous les francophones qui nous regardent sur cette édition au track 24 de Space Sportive. Vous allez aller chercher des points dans la nuit. Tout va pour le mieux dans le meilleur des mondes pour le moment.
Exactement. Bien 24 heures, c'est une course qui est très spéciale. Beaucoup de changements pour moi. Le trafic, les drapeaux bleus, avec aussi une voiture bronze et des fois pour les conditions de rôle. Donc au moment où je suis très bien, on a fait ce qu'il fallait pour être en tête du classement bronze à la fin des 6 heures et des 2 heures, ce qui était l'objectif, de marquer le plus de points possible pour le championnat. Actuellement, il est toujours en tête de la catégorie bronze.
Merci Mathis.
Thanks for now. Right, this is 74. We've got safety car by the way, so now the pace quickens a little bit. We'll talk about 51 Ferrari in a second after we've listened to the Kessel Racing Ferrari.
Alright, that's it. So, and then 1 minute after the pit stop now, we're back to the lead and from the start.
So the news gets through to Dustin Butler about 991 doing his technical pit stop. Right, 51 has now done 3 pit stops in a row. Now, is this clever or is this uncertainty of when they really stand in terms of getting to the end of Europe?
A bit of both, so they keep resetting their stint time. By coming into the pits, it just means at the moment it feels you can go even longer. So this is how they have to reset it. They are doing a time, interestingly. So that's a problem. They've seen a slow puncher. That was the time they let go. Remember, they lost them the lead, but they've got a few times they've come in. So I think the problem, but this does mean that Nielsen's stint time at the moment is up to 2 minutes versus Astro Bruce, who had 14 minutes when he was younger around the Delta. So this does buy them some luck. They go longer every time at the moment, so they're going to get more chance potentially for your full cushion.
Inspection from Pirelli about that time has just come off the car. So
battle with Google.
Yeah.
So it shows you what a pointless battle sometimes can lead to the ramifications very large.
Also, Pele at minute number 3, Danny Cadea, Mercedes AMG. That's a long way back now, 20th place. So after delays in the night, that car never really featured, I suppose, as a possible leader. It's falling further away.
Race control to all teams, just the same procedure as previously already. At the exit of turn 19, the safety car and all cars that are not eligible for the road side will move to the left side of the track and stay on the left side on the track. All the cars that are eligible for the wave by must move to the right side, and we will start the wave by when we approach turn 2.
Let's a quick look at the timing screen. Team manager to tell you that. I don't think there's going to be many cars that need a wave around there. I think we've only got the 2Cs cars. There's one of the 2Cs cars. Looks like they're done.
Yeah, that's number 3. That's Cadea. Brought it in. I was saying he was losing more time. And as you can see, going into the box, he was on the top. Let's look back. But he's going to try and find what she can. Problems for 3. Right, wait back. So not that many going to take advantage.
No, so it's going to be a quick one, like I said, that Ronaldo car, the 2Cs car with front end damage.
So again, the reminder, all cars eligible for the wave by must move now to the right side. All the others that are not eligible for the wave by stay on the left and follow the safety car.
The Pro class is the one where they're holding off the lead lap by the looks of it. The engineer told us man and shot there looking. It's been a tough race for them, hasn't it? Some damage picked up through the follow their own. I'm slightly unsure what the actual damage is right now.
It is looking rather game over, isn't it? There's, even if they go back out, it's a forlorn hope they might
Wave
get
by
this
comments.
Right, the wave by is underway. So there you can see the Rinaldi Ferrari making its way through the traffic. That car was running well early on, wasn't it? So David Perel did some good things in that the race. It's now got Rafael Duran at the wheel.
Like 8 cars on the way around or so. So just need to get these cars back to the end of the tail of the safety car chain, and then we can go back racing.
Right, so wave by underway. And this now really does reinforce that point we were making about Marciello, because what he needs to do on the restart, first time taking over from Marciello, he's got to jump past Angela, try and lap himself, hasn't he? And that therefore means that you've also got 65 Mustang, 998 BMW all in the queue before you get to the second place car. It means you've got 9 on the lead lap. So we've got 7 on the quarter hours to go and 9 on the lead lap.
What's Angry going to do here? Is he going to fight Farfus? He doesn't really mind. Or is he going to be like your Grid DR when we play Monopoly? He's got all the good ones and put hotels on it and they can destroy your evening.
Let's get to the pit lane and find out about number 3, Mercedes. It was looking great. Is it good news or bad? Ganella can tell us.
Jules Boudon expected to see your car back at the garage. Could you explain us what happened?
Yeah, we've been struggling to be honest since maybe 5 AM with the engine temperature. We had some different issue with the car, so we've been trying to fix it. We parked the car maybe 1 hour after my last date to try to clean and try to help, but I was only using over 1 second to get it out of the engine, so we have to retire. Very difficult year so far, but it's
Expliquez-nous en français pour les francophones qui nous suivent, Jules, ce qui se passe pour vous. Vous venez de rentrer avec, enfin pas vous, mais Dani vient de rentrer avec votre voiture et vous venez nous confirmer en anglais que c'était un abandon.
on a eu des problèmes depuis, j'ai envie de dire, 4h30 du matin. On a commencé à avoir des problèmes de surchauffe du moteur. On a eu pas mal de problèmes autour de la boîte du moteur. D'autres problèmes aussi sur les freins. Et on a essayé de continuer, mais là, ça devenait de plus en plus dur. On a rentré la voiture il y a à peu près 1h30. Enfin, quand on a monté un virolé pour essayer de nettoyer le radiateur, essayer de redonner un petit peu d'air au moteur. Mais Dani est reparti et on allait exploser le moteur, donc on a préféré s'arrêter.
Merci Jules, désolé pour vous.
So really bad news for the December Racing Squad. That's the end then of Jules Goulon, of Chris Lamb, of Daniel Cadea, and Mercedes hope very much now resting on 48 because your next Mercedes is 20th. Gabriel Rideau's pin lane starting against BTG High, and commentary. So it's Mercedes, Porsche, BMW, Ferrari, Porsche, Ferrari, BMW, Aston Martin, the 9 on the lead lap.
Yeah, it's going to be a great race with those 9, but I do think Farfus is going to send it. I think it's going to be a Hail Mary into turn 1 if he gets a chance, because if he doesn't, there's no point. I don't think he's got the pace trying to take him over the stick. It's got to be early.
I'm not sure Farfus is a Hail Mary kind of driver. Marciello, yes, but Farfus, he's always the quick, steady one. He, with all the experience, doesn't make mistakes. But if you want aggression or pace, you go Marciello.
When you've got nothing to lose, you might as well go all in. You're up against the wall. The Matthew have come for money that they maybe 6 months ago. It's your kneecaps or you hit first. I think he's going to do that.
Alright, okay. We'll see those kneecaps stand up to all of this. Favourite drop shots you see now, we're trying to have a uni bail for the pit lane. 1 or 2 others do likewise. So all stops cycle through. And we started with 69 and we're now down to 50, give or take. Or 1 or 2 that have been in the pits for a long time but haven't yet been confirmed as retirements, but we know that number 3 has now added itself to that list.
There were 23 dip-up finishes last year for reference. We were pretty similar at the moment, I reckon. Rate of attrition, 69. Okay, of course, Ferrari.
Just out of interest, asking for a friend, but how many track limits penalties you won as well last year?
Well, I appreciate you asking because you know what the stats are. With 6,048 track limits over the 24 hours.
There you go.
One with 44 is the most besides the SRT.
What we don't have is a
Great control of all teams, safety car in this lap.
But we'll make that posted out, let you know on social media. Right, safety car in this time. So that's Farfus. He's the one to watch, isn't he? But at the same time, he's trying to dive bomb in. He's got to make sure he doesn't let Cossetec right, because that's still a matter of 10 place.
Yeah, exactly that. But what the BMW going to do if they got anything on the mapping where they can maybe give it a bit more boost, even just for a split second, he's going to have to judge the restart of April Way, isn't he? We've seen him able to do many safety car restarts in this championship, and he gets them away. There's a few tricks you can do as a driver in terms of just slow the field down. You can't go, stop, go. You can't back people up. But what you can do is just rest your left foot on the brake so the brake lights are illuminated just with a few bar of pressure, but you are full gas. So the driver behind is seeing brake lights, but also the car disappearing as it gets smaller. It's just a little subtle touch that isn't illegal, just a warning.
You know all about after years of doing it. Right, ready to go then. So look at this. If Farfus is thinking of dive bombing, he needs to be a heck of a lot closer. So waiting to see what Mario Engel does. Engel doesn't need to stay ahead, but doesn't need to find himself shuffled back into the traffic because he'd like as many cars as he can really to protect him from Bastian Boost. Engel 20 minutes into a stint, Boost 24. So the Porsche will be in sooner. Let's see what develops now. It's going to be up to La Source, but the big dive is going to come.
Safety car lights off.
Race direction commands the safety car team to turn off the lights. And amongst the drivers of the safety cars over the shift in the race, Bob Dubé, Belgian race legend, and the other end of the scale, Ethan Gialdini, who was a winner here last week in GT2 for Ginetta, but now Farfus right on the back of Engel, who's weaving around, getting the pressures and the temperatures up, ready to go racing.
Suppose Farfus is weaving himself. Normally the second driver just stays dead straight to just give every opportunity to accelerate. And also want to be slightly closer to the rear of that Mercedes Engel. Really left hand way, isn't he? And that is just to keep those tyres clean. We had him in the box last night and he's gone. And it is an awful restart from Farfus. I've got to say, that is not good enough and they're going to stay that way.
Absolutely, because he's not anywhere near that Mercedes, and he comes up now towards the chicane. Not only is he not catching up to the Mercedes, he's having to fend off Cossetec, so it's a double whammy. He can't even think about going after the Mercedes AMG as long as he's got to make the car wide and keep that place against Eduardo Cossetec. So as they go over the line, in fact, there was another winner, I reckon, on that round of stops. It was Charles Weirts, who was kept 32 on the lead lap. So actually, now Farfus is 10th, not 9th, and as they drop down towards the right-hand of La Source, you can see that Engel's gone away. All right, Farfus now is steadying the ship against the Mustang, where he's going to stay on that down unless there's a problem for Engel.
The problem is they're going to get blue flags as Bastian Boost now in the last car is going to catch them. So that's going to really cement them off the lead down.
The only other thing that will give Farfus the lap back is that Engel is going to have to make his next pit stop before 98 BMW does, but it's a Pyrrhic victory.
car there. Looks like he's trying to get down the inside of the 50 of Leo Wadu. So not got position. At this point of the restart, you're not really long lap position. It's all about how fast you are compared to everyone around you.
Kia Jones, another very underrated British driver, very rapid British GT champion last year. There, 34 is Enrique Chavez there, who's driving away from Charles Williams. 9th place, Charles, the last one on the lead lap right now. And that change between Aston and BMW, if you look at the different sectors, who is quick. Wow, Ferrari, another Porsche goes wide. And look at the restart here, going through a Rouge. Wow, that's a scary moment. The Mercedes, toboggan's back on, and people just have to scatter in the void, because that was 999, I think, wasn't it, which is driven by Patrick Charlet.
I've crashed in a lot of places. I've never done that one. That really scary. And basically, the grass race moves across to the circuit rating start here. But the cars then had to scatter in avoidance, didn't they? And it was like it was right enough to open. Everyone else didn't want to go near it. But luckily, everyone with eyes on stalks stopped that from being a potential issue and a big crash.
Yeah, anybody who was feeling tired, someone got to wake up there, didn't they? So, up front, it's Milo Engel, and he's 2.2 seconds ahead of Bastian Boost. Now, the last lap, because Boost was able to get the lap before the end of the lap, he had more lap left, rather to be on the lap pattern down in Engel. He went faster. This time, though, Engel is quicker, so 3.2 seconds. But part of this now is that Boost has to work its way through the traffic. So, until he's clear of, you can't really call them lap markers, but the cars that got into the top 10, only then we're going to see the pure pace of that car once again.
Big sign there from Michel Gatting in the electronic. Porsche gets it done on the Corvette with Prince Jeffrey. So apparently BMW following through as well. And a great illustration. You lose one place, and that Corvette has now lost 4 in the space of 300 metres.
So as the field accelerates up here once again, we've Nicholas Nielsen back ahead of Valentino Rossi. We've had the change for 3rd place in the queue. So you're looking at Mercedes in the lead. Second is the Porsche of Bastian Boost. And there it is in the background. And then a little bit further back, you'll see now Ferrari there ahead of BMW there. So Valentino Rossi has lost the place. He's also got a bit behind in traffic.
Yeah, it's hard for anything because Fleming in front who's able to just keep jumping out of the way. It's quite frustrating. Race for 58 now, they're so far off the pace as Rossi drops it in the gravel. And again, an illustration of one mistake. That's the second gone. You've got to get back on it. You've got to forget about the mistake. Again, easy to do. You think about what you've just done. You hung up on that. You then miss your next breaking point. Make another mistake. And the downwards spiral gets some momentum right quickly. Rossi, with all of his experience, being one of the greatest of all times on 2 wheels, will be great at that reset. Maybe even Harper or Hess or his teammates will be on the radio just to calm them down, just to let them know what you did wrong. With a live video and telemetry now, you can actually drive a coach on the fly. So that will be, again, Valentino returning too early. That's why we're round wide early. Next lap, late to turning. I'll remind you, next lap, try to spread the load of stress among the drivers.
Of course, it's not just what he's doing, it's what the car is capable of doing. And we've been saying that BMWs have not been the fastest. They did get that BOP break and they going into the race. It certainly, as it's helped Porsches, in fairness, but the Mercedes AMG still a car up front in the lead as Mauro Engel makes his way now down through the chicane. 10 kilos lighter for the race, the Mercedes as well. Replaying Nielsen, making the move on Valentino Rossi, absolutely nose to tail. Nielsen gets a toe. There's no gap on the inside, he tries the outside, and that's going to be the last of the late breakers. Now that is a very, very brave bit of driving. Nicholas Nielsen right round the outside, and he's staying on the racetrack as well. I think he needs to go onto that link and run off tarmac.
Yeah, I could see Nielsen knows my pet peeve is when the drivers just jump across there, across the tarmac, like we suggested, it's a large wall placing across it. Fair for Rossi, and I think Nielsen there had the confidence in his car that he was just going to brake after he saw the lights on the 46 go on. That just gave him the chance to get the momentum and sweep round. There's Chavez there to get a back draft from the Porsche, about to go 3-1.
Yeah, he was ahead of Leo Wadu over the line, and Enrique Chavez then stays ahead of Leo Wadu, and on the outside of the Ferrari goes that delay, number 8, Porsche, Joel Stern at the wheel of it, that's in 40, Joel Stern's very, very quick, and Leo Wadu here doesn't seem to have any pace up the hill.
Zero, she had to lift going to location outside side with a Porsche who seems to want to take the place. That Porsche down in 31st, it was only there getting aggressive, but Leo Wadu felt like she had to roll around the gas, and he's lost to a second and a bit, I would say, 2 places.
And Charles Williams has got crashed by claiming his lap back, unless Engel puts it off the road. And that rarely happens.
Happening at the moment. Bruce in second has two Rover BMWs in front of him, and that's the gap at the moment. With a penalty for a 25 seconds of FC1 speeding. Every full Porsche here we basically get a penalty, don't we? And it's the drivers normally 99% being greedy, getting down to 80. It's very rarely they take the limiter off to.
Right, so there is Engel, it's the chicane. BMW behind is the lapped Farfus car. And the other slightly galling thing for Rover, not only have they got a lap down because of the battle with Good, as you were explaining a lap or so ago, but Good saving the leader. So they lost time, but the Schumacher CLR team got that car in the mix for fifth place. In fact, it's going to be worth watching, I reckon. Rossi to Good, fourth and fifth places, because that's only 2 seconds. So we're looking at the time between 46 BMW, 22 Porsche, as the Max get loose 3.1 seconds here to hide the race leader. So he did lose out on that time with the last pit stop.
That was super unlucky that they with that. Charles France is so different strategy here. So he's only done 9 minutes of his stint, whereas the majority are at the end of 20-ish minutes. So they can go much longer. I understand that Nielsen starting to get a bit frustrated watching his own board. He's trying to signal to other drivers that he wants to come past within 10 time.
Well, positive still in the lead of Silva, even though that car's dropped back a little bit overall to be surviving for we understand. Fabio Scherr car is officially now retired. Gabriel Rideau got that through the car light of 7 is Michelle Benfic. She's currently 4th in Rose, is Michi. The 6th for AMG. Silva, that car was really practice qualifying. Says that was always on the wing of it. And the Silva tyres that is currently
Silver was really swimming against that was the inside. Tires, definitely race was quite strong out. So Constant is quite close to each other. We're in a position to get them 13 from World's class. 10 plus 10. In the middle of it, in that last thing I thought was going to be a dark horse, excuse me, for overall race. Probably potentially, this is just dropped away for the last steps.
Yeah, I'm sure 65 was necessarily paid. 64, yes, it's a big package, but it was you could argue that I thought the Silver Cup win anyway.
The only thing was that the pace of Massey boosted in that 65 was so good at the Brunos. They went in the pace, so I just wondered if they could keep something there.
And thinking of gold cups, the gold cup leader, Jens Klingberg, has got a 15-second penalty for speeding on the full course yellow. So 998 BMW leading gold, but with a 15-second penalty there.
Next one stop comes on Chicago for 15 seconds, and then it gets down to huge swerves. If he gets the seconds that really driver, obviously will put down the train. You would say his pace is starting to motivate cars behind. Charles Allen, that step on the lead. Remember, he will be 123 as the only car gets down the inside of the tronic Porsche. It's already getting past.
There's a 10-second penalty for Valentino Rossi as well for the driving full course yellow speeding. So we've got a few of them penalties. This is one of the more significant because the car that's now in 4th place will have an extra 10 seconds to serve on that next pit stop.
Yeah, that is really hurting. Then is it tightness? Is it being greedy? It's probably a mixture of the two. So the rule quite simple. The full Porsche area, 20-second activation. The teams will then tell the driver who's on the driver display. At 10 seconds, there's no more overtaking, and at 0, you must be at 80. So of course, if you're at the end of the Kevin Straight doing 270 kilometers an hour in that BMW, you need to work out the rate to lose 190 k's to be at 80. Do it too early, and you lose time. Too late, you lose even more time. And that's the hard bit. The drivers will practice it to see when they can brake, but a lot of it is done on field.
So there is 998 with that penalty to serve on the next stop. 15 seconds. The time difference, 15 to that car, 10 to Rossi, basically is changed on by how much you're over the limit. So clearly this car is a little bit too rapid. That's 46. So there we've got the Carl Morley through.
the 91 Porsche 21 lap itself.
Yeah, the only other car I think we mentioned briefly is the Prime leader as well, which is that zero Corvette of Prince Jeffrey. And great to see the Royal Racing, much better to do that with your spare time, money that looks corners on the cars, in my opinion. And do you know much about how the Malay people choose their skin colour works? It's quite a unique way they do it, actually, as we look at Prince Jeffrey. So it's a regulation through the system. Then the 9 royal houses of Malaysia put forward their new king. So it's almost a democracy way of choosing your king. This is the sun king that bring down the Camel Straight. It's in a lovely bit of real estate, isn't it?
Race control to all teams. We have a car in the runoff between turn 11 and 12. In the runoff, the drivers right now, it now continues.
It's not the Interesting, isn't it? How many cars, it's 2 McLarens in quick succession we've seen, sort of pulling off the circuit and to do a quick reset and get going again. Is this temperature? Not as hot as yesterday, but driving what else has caused it?
Yeah, just general fatigue, lots of work loose, and then maybe shorting out the electrical surface, and just teaching and just that reset needed. And I'm sure Neil's Richards is going to start to maybe give more time to cars to get going. We were close with the Greystone on Bunbury, maybe another 10 seconds of delay. We would have needed that last full course yellow period.
Sometimes a full course yellow comes and is then cancelled, but I think equally, as you said at the time, it was worth doing because it allowed the teams away by and we could clean the circuit and so it was a useful admin exercise that we can see whether Rouget is going to come into the pit lane, but I don't think he is necessarily. That was Charles Williams then. So this is the car in 9th place. He's not that far behind Enrique Chandez in real terms for position, and as the car is going now through the lanes of Benchmark, the lap marker that Paddy had. Now, as Joe already made the point, he's on a different strategy because he's done about half the amount of stint time here as have many of those ahead of him. So WRT slightly off sequence with 32 on.
Yeah, just trying to see at the moment if that's going to cut the stop or not. At the moment, it is not going to be a stop less for them, but it does open the window ever so slightly. A couple more full course yellows, and you can maybe change a full 44-second connection time to a splash of dash, which has to be 3. So it's 72 first. A left-foot strategy one, and it doesn't surprise me as we don't want to.
I can't believe we're going to go to the end without any more yellows. We've got just like 7 hours of the race. And still going up nicely this between Engel and Moose right now. And Nicholas Nielsen, who is ahead by another 2 pit stops and has got more of a stint to go because of all those resets that they're doing and the champion tyre in Italy. His last lap was fractionally faster than both of those ahead. So Nielsen in 3rd place, edging forward as Reyes here works to get past Paddy, who's in 16th place, which means he can. Touch on it while they cross the takes Huntsman leading in silver. 2nd silver is the ultimate number 5, McLaren Sama November, in practice on Thursday night. BMW, this 32 car, delayed early in the race because of a lot of damage on the left front corner to make a couple of pit stops. So the fact that that's on the lead lap is still impressive in its own right. It might be in the back of the line of 9, but it's on the lead lap and that counts.
Switch on London whistle from WRT. It's amazing how well the team worked with that. What they've never had before in terms of the floor coming away. So that was the cable tie solution. But they addressed it further in the technical pit stop. It seems to have worked, but they've run their measure better.
And that's where a good team works, isn't it? Okay, we know we've got a bit more work to do, but if we can get it to that 5 minute stop and do 2 for the price of 1, yeah, Falconers did with 34. It's keeping on the lead lap, keeping in the mix. That is Aaron Cordillo, who is 3rd in silver. Part of WRT, BMW, that's the car that is shared with Ignacio Montenegro, Matthew Dietrich, and Antti Schliessmann. And in silver, all 6 whether it's Sprinter Endurance, that's been a good job.
That's really strong WRT. Preparing a very fast program for a silver car. That's right to the money. Bridget's doing well there. See the stick time up on the sidebar there. So you can see that 9th place race car average less time is 20 minutes less than Engel, our leader. So effectively a 3rd on a stick. So they've got a 3rd get luckier, and cars are getting luckier, so you want that. And I'm really starting to worry as cars bottom out and you take the load off the tyres. The tyres just going to get stuck in the wall on the left, and there's going to be a lot of stuff. So I'm actually going to get 2 points Chavez, and it destroyed the car so much so it didn't make the 24-hour race the next day.
That was Jeff Matthews going through Marcello's trench. 18th place this car, and it's 4th in silver. And another massive penalty coming for 914. Not for the first time, but McDermott beat off Bennett forward car, being given a big penalty for track limits. 150 seconds coming down to 2.5 minutes.
Did you just divide the 300 by 2 because you knew that was 5 minutes, or did you work out?
Well, that's not properly. 15 traffic warnings that the car has now had.
In this entire period.
Yes, indeed, but in the race twice. So you know your magic number of who's going to win the most traffic warnings. I think that's 914. Kenty Meatcroft at the wheel.
Don't ruin my surprise for 12 minutes.
You had to hit first. Tanto special there, down on the left front, number 6, Cesar Gazzo at the wheel. That's in silver as well. Fifth in class, 19th place overall. Traditional Barto livery. That's the Barto drag racing family back in the USA. It's Jonathan Rose Potatoes. Car now accelerates out of she wants. Chasing out from Paragon BMW, a surviving car. Was the other one destroyed on the first lap with Chanty's goal. The first racing lap, lap 2 of the entry event itself. But Moran Christian Hahn eliminated along with Maxime Romain. Levi-induced accident. So, Maro Engel is your leader by 3 seconds over Bastian Buss. There is Buss in the background. The Porsche ought to be boxing first out of this lead fight. 3 seconds between them. Go now into their car at the end of the first sector. The Mercedes is just ever so slightly faster. And then you've got behind Augusto Farfus. So put this into context. Not only has he been unable to unlap himself, not only has Farfus dropped away from the Mercedes, he's dropped through the pack. So 98, really struggling for pace. Farfus, if anything, is being halted by the sister car at Jens Klingman. There's only half a second between them, but those Rover BMWs not on the lead lap, not looking likely to get back on the lead lap, unless they fall likely on the next yellow whenever that comes.
Yeah, well, that's true. And then just looking at this 48, it's just the metronomic pace of all 3 drivers. That must be such a win for Rover Racing in the Manfield car. It doesn't really matter which 3 you install, they're just an asset, they're just a driver, no matter which one you own. Not to particularly say one for the automatic start. It's quite normal with his kind of car composure and decisiveness as a non-start driver. Which one they will finish with. The London Stones has this slight advantage, but we're talking 500s difference there. I just wondered when we saw this guy at the end of the camera strokes hanging a bit low on the front sort of floor of that Mercedes. Keep an eye out for that. Maybe a bit of debris, let's clear this up. So just caught my eye for a split second.
Well, they leave out for last week, don't they? That's only Corbett Fellas, an example of the first insurance coming out because Lucas Ella recorded how he the 30-second penalty for the 87 Winwood Bronze Cup. Sister cars in this yellow race leader, a little bit more rubber flies in the background as everyone goes. Engel, despite the great CV that Milo has, that Lucas Stoltz has, that Lucas Auer has, none of them have been at one winners on the points about 24 hours thus far. Maro this year was won, both versus one. Nürburgring has been an invasion win with the car. Lucas Stoltz has been a double back first winner, also part of the out of the pit lane. Jeffrey Ibrahim has brought it into give way to Jordan Love. And the margin wanted to go for half a second when they went over the line.
You just said Rich Jeffries being deflowered then from the Corvette as he carries on. I wonder if WRT are going to tell Rossi even between BMW that was overtaking into the last corner. Just to get the heads up there as the Corvette just fuel coming out of
The camera straight goes Valentino Rossi. And Schumacher in the first sector is at a comparable pace, actually pretty slow. Starts to help. It's too far back this lap for a look into the next break zone with the bus stop, but maybe there to close up and then launch your attack into turn one. Always best to strike while the iron is hot and momentum is with you. So through the chicane, this is where Guven needs to start the move. He looks quick through the chicane, he's quick on exit. Rossi goes wide. Guven now is getting closer and closer and closer. We've seen him do a massive dive up the inside of the BMW. He's going to do it again. Look, switches sides. There's a gap on the inside. Guven on the inside line. He's not cleared him under braking, but he might do the other side of the corner. They're toe to toe down the hill. This for fourth place. Guven in the black Porsche. Valentino Rossi just ahead. He'll have the inside line at the bottom of the hill. And then as you turn through the corner, it should be advantage. Guven, Rossi at the curve. Guven up to fourth. Great racing. And Guven yet again, he proves he's nobody's fancy. He is an aggressive driver, and it's worked for him. It started at the exit of the chicane, and it finishes up the Kettle Straight.
Side by side all the way to Rouge. Rossi deciding to tuck in, whereas Marshall previously battling all the way around. We go back to the corner with Rossi now. Can he take anything learning wise from the Porsche? The Porsche able just to rip off the brake, carry a high running speed through these corners and just starting to get away already. Rossi obviously not told or not wanting to defend into turn one for that Porsche overtake.
Let's have another look at it. It started already, hasn't it, really through the source, but this was the move down the hill. Guven up against the pit wall. He knows the road's going to come to him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Rossi just rolls out the throttle to allow him to keep some momentum to minimise the ultimate time loss, because he will need to look behind for another Porsche. Now, we're sure the number two boots of the years.
And a few penalties also coming of 30 seconds duration for people ignoring blue flags. One of which is Lenny Reed in the Corvette. Much rejoicing from our oil engineer next door, who got 22 quarter in the sweepstakes. We're getting happier now. Got that. Drivers 46. Valentino Rossi, and he's lost the pace, he's lost time as well. But let's have a look back. This is how it started, Joe, coming out of the chicane.
So he's looking like he's going to try and go around the outside. He rolls up the throttle. There were millimeters between that great driving and knowledge of the front end of his car for Guven. If he got that wrong, he would have spun Rossi hard into the wall. And now they're side by side. Rossi initially with the momentum. The Porsche starts to creep back in that mid-phase. So this is just Rossi rolled out. I think he just rolled out the front ever so slightly, then to tuck in behind.
But that Porsche is coming back into the mix, isn't it? I think about an hour and a half ago we were saying, it's far away back to 80, but Guven's real energy this morning has worked wonders for that car. There it is, look down towards that source. So Guven's next target is Nielsen, who is 6.5 seconds up the road, but we now need to see actually a Guven lap, because he's been doing 2:21 hitherto, largely because of being in traffic and having to overtake cars. Let's have a look here at supercar driver making his start 24 debut. Angle left on towards Paul Fran. He'll go through the right-hander with Bastien Bus behind him. What that Porsche, that's the lap. That's Bus, 2.7 seconds at the start of the lap. In terms of sector pace, they're really even in match. Maybe a 10th here gained by Bus, but then lost in the next sector. But remember, he is roughly 5 minutes ahead on stint time. So Bastien Bus coming towards the end of the stint. He'll end up in the pit lane before the leading Mercedes does. That is Nicholas Nielsen, trust me, in third place, going into the chicane. And he is also here trying to come back into the mix. That car on 21 pit stops to the 19 of the top two, one of which was for that iffy tyre, but others were stint resets.
Yeah, stint resets. They're going to be interesting to see if they're utilising any more full course yellows. Another interesting point track temp now up to 34.1 degrees. Last time we checked in on that at 8:30, 90 minutes was only 28, so we've come up 6 degrees in the last stint and a half. And why is that important? Because we're now getting back to how it was at the start of this race, where the Ferrari seemed very dominant from the McLaren, which is really out of the running now. So what's this going to do to the BMWs we're looking at Rossi? And I think more importantly, the Boost Porsche, which seems to come alive the most overnight. In the same for showing as well in 6th place. Well, we're going to see Trump Temp swing the momentum back to the 296 at the moment in 3rd place. This car's got under the radar, hasn't it? And I've actually got their live on board up at all times. You can watch that live on board on GT World if you care to. But the balance of the car looks phenomenal. Very good on its track limits as well. They're already on 4. So they've got a bit more headroom for the reset. Track limits 37 minutes.
Eduardo Costa still leading in silver, but not by much, because Salvador Vega in the orange McLaren from the Optimum stable is getting nearer. Now Costa last lap to 2:20, so was Ovega. So in terms of pace, they're evenly matched. We've got a fair few cars between them in the back row. You can see Ovega. So in the race order, 12th and 13th they are. It's not a huge gap, as you see.
Yeah, but again, it's hard on the time screen. We only see last lap, but with the HH timing, I've got in front of me the stint averages show over 4:10 on average quicker at that. So that really starts to swing in their favour. Stints so far this race being 26 as an average under green. So at that sort of pace, we're waiting about 12 seconds a hour on that car. So he's going to get that optimal McLaren somewhere near the class lead by the end of this stint.
That going through in 18th place, sorry, in Porsche number 10, I should say, is the second Wilson car, Antonio Guiretti. Right, leader through on an angle over the timing line, 17 hours, 24 minutes done. Bastien Bus 3.3 seconds back. That time the gap just creeps up a little bit.
Motorsport Porsche in front, hopefully will be out the way. They're actually very close to each other in pit lane, so maybe a representative from Lion Speed will speak to Bernard Warner. Just to ask him to be like the local race for Motorsport, their HQ 2 kilometres away from the city.
And yet it's a German speaking car, so Belgium is this little pocket statement once. It was quite surreal going from all the signage to the German part. And Warner hasn't been on this grid for a long time, but delighted to be back. And it's good to have the local team here as well. There, 32nd is Jordan Love. Somebody else returning to GT World's Challenge Europe, having been a Silver Endurance champion, and that's still the leading car in Pro-Am as we get the super slow back here of Enrique Chavez and Leo Wadu, and then Jordan Love coming through the chicane at the end of the lap. It is the chicane these days. He's rather loves the bus stop tag because he's just a straightforward chicane, the old bus stop analogy, because you used to have to go left and right and then along with the straight and then right and left come out the other side. And Gordon Spice, when he was being interviewed at the Spot 24 Hours Radio by Chris George, the English journalist and commentator about the new chicane. Gordon Spice said it's dreadful, it's like a bus stop, and the name stuck. So now on the scientific reason for that. Lucas Stock's getting ready for a stint, as you've seen, in 48. The car was done 55 minutes, and if he's getting ready, you can guarantee there's somebody ready at Lion Speed because Boost is almost on the outside.
Yeah, there's a double boost here, and then they get to a point where you can get the car, they can maybe just double through the rest of their drivers. And yeah, I think just to jump on the bus stop, the drivers such simple folk, rather than go first, it sticks. So I call it the bus stop, I call it no name, I call it
is one more lap, but coming off the back of that safety car period, then we can stretch this to 65 minutes, and we'll then find out if it's a single decker or double decker course that we have, whether he stays in the car or is relayed.
Hopefully not an empty one for him, but definitely out of the race as they to down once more. It's just so amazing that these cars are able just to pound around flat out, and they look so well poised that the car doesn't get any fatigue in the suspension anymore. The driver's not out to correct anything that the tracking has got. They're just built so strongly, and they're built purposefully. They are built for this reason. The cars, the manufacturers will, as a minimum, do a 30-hour sign-off test. So the car, while it's in development, will go to a racetrack and it will pound around for 30 hours. Sometimes the first attempt doesn't go well. The team will rebuild, they'll realise what's failed, they'll redesign, and they go again. And that really is the mark. Porsche will always be the mark that set the bar. They will go 30 hours, well, let's do 36, let's go do 30 at Sebring. And they just keep pushing it, and it just raises the chances of these customer teams getting the car to the end of the race.
One thing we haven't had in this stint, even though evenly matched being Engel and Bruce, is obviously Bastian being able to find the speed after that restart to get ahead. I was rather hoping we might see a bus pass, but it hasn't happened. And so Mercedes hangs on ahead of the Porsche, and Engel looks as though he would have controlled this stint all the way. So the light-speed Porsche is in the mix, but needs to find something, doesn't it, to jump ahead of this Mercedes.
Yeah, it's just been so slow. Starting to make inroads at 10.2 here. Coming up, like I alluded, is that Ferrari now starting to wake up. The horse is maybe starting to gallop from a trot, and that's important timing as we get to almost the last quarter of this race.
Just a little bit further down, the order, number 12, Mercedes, which has got Gabriel Renault at the wheel. It's one of our bronze cars that's had a gear shift issue, but he's back on track. Time lost. Right, Bruce, we expect from pit lane this time. And he comes then, so that was just over 62 minutes. And down the pit road comes the 9-speed Porsche. We've not seen Ricardo Fella arguing for a while. Might be his turn now.
He could have squeezed another lap, so maybe the tyre dropping off, he's not happy with it, or the team playing it safe, because if full Crociera were to come out at the end of that stint, they kind of used up their margin, and then they would then go over their maximum stint time. Full Crociera lap go 5 minutes 15 seconds, so then they would get a penalty for that.
And there is being accused of picking on the command by Ford Porsche. He's got 150 seconds to serve on his next pit stop for track limits. It's now 18 warnings in this 6-hour period, and it's been reported to the stewards. So now an appropriate punishment needs to be found somewhere.
Yeah, the stewards love the condescending one of, well, if you can't keep the car on the track, are you a safe driver? And it's like a real, I'm not angry at you, I'm disappointed parent player. They're not wrong, but yeah, the frustration for the drivers, they're pushing, and a small mistake can lead to a track limit warning, but there definitely seems to be a trend going on there with that number for Bush.
Right, so this is Boost coming to his stop, and team ready. I think he's going to stay behind the wheel, isn't he? There's no suggestion of anybody else there, so as your answer, it's going to be a double stint for Bastian. New tyres, of course, as well as a new tank of fuel, and they're going to leave it in the car. And that's going to be interesting because we've seen Lucas Strokes getting ready further up that part of the endurance pit lane, so you'll have a fresh driver versus Boost that knows exactly what to expect when it goes back out.
Yeah, fresh Boost going on that car. Engel has done a double, so that's probably why they're going to get stops in.
Yeah, and also this is keeping Fella fresh, isn't it, towards the end of the race, because he's probably, it's fair to say, begun in that car the fractionally faster. So they're keeping Ricardo Fella for the end of the race, / Wayne Totter, so they're keeping him for the end.
Yeah, exactly. Just get to Holiday, so the car controller hesitate. Could he get in front of that tsunami? Porsche could not. So now, unfortunately, Bruce has to get going and get up past him as quickly as he can.
Two utterly contrasting liveries there. We almost have heard of 9-speed Porsche, the white and grey, versus every pattern you can think of. Tsunami, pink Porsche, just out of it.
Yeah, loud, exotic, in your face, versus almost the boring, under the radar cars. Almost like myself. Choose which way round we are. Who's already on the flashes?
Absolutely right, that through the sequence goes. Yeah, the good old days of sports car racing coming to Silverstone. I always used to be what was done with the boring white Porsche, and as deals were done over the weekend, more and more stickers used to be adorning the cars. They might race them, looked all right, but it was mostly a boring white Porsche. That's not quite it, but it's not the most colourful. 34 then, Jamie Day back the wheel redrawn, 25 now with the Santa Lot car behind him, sort making its way out of pit lane. 998 now, that's around 15 second penalty to serve. Gugan is in as well. There he is, out of third place. So 22 Porsche down the pit lane.
Keeps oddly close to the inside of the wall. I don't know if he's having to deal with something in the cockpit, but clearly it's the shortest distance. But just got by ever so slightly. Of course, his tyres get taken off now. They haven't done their stop yet, so there's no problem picking up any dirt on them. Stones looking on, ready to get on board his car. What can he do? Can he keep the lead? Has that Mercedes got the pace as the temperatures continue to rise?
And all these stops, we should get 51 Ferrari back into the lead, should we not? This is Lilo Wagner's 50 car that has come into the pit lane, but Nielsen out of sequence for at least a couple of laps, or to go back into the race lead.
Yeah, exactly that. He can do 3 more laps, 3 more time laps, that is quite comfortably. So Lilo Wagner walks away after I thought a hard start test. Her pace really improved, and she was on the back of Chavez by the end of the stint there. So good job from Lilo Wagner. So again, yeah, of course, guys, ready to drop the car as soon as the fueling finishes. And here is Marlon Engel. He's going to box this lap. They did roll the dice. If full Coursier on this in lap, he would run over the stint time. They'd be lucky. Lucky can win races.
True enough. So Engel heading for pit lane. The Whitwood team always prefers, it seems to be in that endurance end. So it's a long drive to the box, but a quick release, as it were, and Mara Engel into the chicane, heads for pit road. We were hearing from Ben Tuck last night about how nervous he always is about being through that section because you're so close to the wall. Like you see Mara Engel so close to the wall.
Really is, and I think as close as the silver lead is Omega is only 0.5 seconds behind the Mustang now. So we thought they kept close towards the end of the stint, and it has. The next 2 laps, that's the 2 slim figure of Stones. Looks pensively on. He'll be at the point of targets now where he's trying to work out what's on the way. Just start to second guess yourself. So you have to go back to basics, and brake and start by going down 3 gears and get back to throttle. Keep it simple, and you will not mistakes.
I turn my microphone on with this button. Yes. So as the 46 BMWs do a stop as well. They're getting ready for WRT. Max Hessler will be aboard the car as you see, helmet on. Very green penalty. Max Hessler, car 2 over with co-driver Dan Harmon. Not assuring he's in as well, but it looks to be yes. Come on. So quite a lot cycling through. As Lucas Stoltz doesn't exactly need to say, here I am, can't miss it, can you? Right the other overall, he's been tall guy in the pit lane. And Mara Engel throws himself out of the car. In gets Lucas Stoltz, he sort of funnels himself in. And Mara Engel, as we saw before, pivots on his heels and straight away helps with the balance. Doesn't walk away and let the mechanic do it. He's totally invested in that pit stop.
Yeah, the driver's even aware of the tyre changes that are kind of forced out the way the tyre change. More important than a mere drive as we go out Boyle and Nick Nielsen in the 51. This is going to be the race. They're going to be split by strategy, aren't they, for a while. So Nielsen now needs to pop in some laps to try and do the overcut, which is very difficult because the car that boxes earlier gets the new tyres. And again, just see the fuel coming off because it's full of fuel. And the connection has to be physical for 44 seconds. Drop the slow V8, rock comes into life, and off they go. And you look at the competent pit lane there, just to make sure they haven't got enough advantage because of the timing tower having no pit stops. They still have to get into the fast lane at a normal rate.
So there at WRT, the pit stop is being prepared for 46 BMW. Pit exit for Lucas Stoltz now, so that car blasts back on track. And Stoltz, another absolute stalwart for Mercedes-AMG. He's been given some good cars, good co-drivers, but he's also delivered good results back for the round. This is Rossi coming to the end of the stint. Max Hessler ready to go. The car is in a second place in quotes for the moment because of the stops or shuffling the order, and Rossi will give up that second place as he comes even closer to the wall coming in the pit lane. But if you've spent your career on 2 wheels, that's nothing at all.
Yeah, get ready for the driver change. You're allowed to loosen your belts, can't undo. You must always keep one hand on the wheel as well. So all the normal there, so just warming up his wrist to make sure he's nice and settled, ready to go. We're going to
over to the car with his hands behind his back, as though he was just sort of looking at something he's gone. And Rossi can't get out. Nothing can happen until the time is done. And it was 10 seconds, so that's all now finished. In jumps at Tessa. Valentino Rossi helps with the balance. With a tape on the front of that car from value damage. Max plugging himself in. Tightens everything up. Valentino Rossi puts the cable lid back, window net back. The steering wheel setting is adjusted. I think I'm done here, says Valley.
Politely blocks the mechanic with the time, but how choreographed is that? Rossi putting his right shoulder out up and about it, so it's out of the way. Team happy with his job as the doctor walks away and getting more and more physical as he comes back now.
It looks tight, I've got a wave. Seeking out in the background, ready to get another word with Valley. There's the car on its way back down the pit lane, so that will have cost them time net because of the 10-second penalty. And isn't going to cost a lap, relatively speaking, because there the leaders will go through, or is it going to cycle back, I think. Right, so you've got Schultz ahead, that moves the margin between them 3.1 seconds, which is kind of what it was before the whole track started.
I politely disagree about them staying on the lead because these guys have switched and have gone past them, so I think they're going to be a lap down.
Kelly, to double check, because they stopped earlier. BMW, if it has dropped off the rear lap, it's going to struggle to get it back.
No, I politely disagree with myself.
Yeah, it is on the rear lap, yes. Thank you. That was right. While you're disagreeing with yourself, Marco Engel can talk about the race, and he can do it in the company of Nina Jacob, who was found in the Wirral garage. Let's get to the pit lane. I'm in perfect agreement.
Mario, you just put in a marathon double stint there. What were conditions like out there?
Yes, starting to get warm again, so we're definitely having our work cut out for ourselves. But no, it's good. Balance has shifted a bit, and that's a challenge, but so far so good, and
You're a little bit lucky with the free photo as well to put you in the lead.
yeah, for sure. You need that. But obviously it's a long way, 6 hours to go, so yeah. Look at the car now, and we just keep circulating.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Just to clarify that, we're still happy with 46. He's on that lead lap, but this is the lead car with Schultz getting very close to the trench there on the pit path. And now running his way to the virtual corner, so you can see that they, of course, are the next batch of stops. Go cycling through. So on the road, Nicholas Nielsen is leading, but he goes as a stop, and he's done an hour on this stint, so he's not far away from next to the pit lane.
Probably this lap, I don't think they'll risk an extra one there. This comes after quite an interesting triple stop, wasn't it, during that full course Jarvis didn't really set time, potentially catching a rear puncture as well, I think. So, Nielsen seems to get all the bad luck. Who are they going to put in that car? I wonder. He has done a double, so I expect him to get out. You set the tyres there. It's Americans got them stickers for the obvious reason. They've got stickers on. It's a great feeling as a driver, that new tyre just enhances life. You can look after them fondly like you were a child for the first lap, just to bring them into life and fondle them before you send them half for the next 60 minutes. Tyres will jump.
Right, just to clarify, yes. 51 Ferrari there for the pit lane this time. Nicholas Nielsen is in. And now we'll get a better idea of the gaps. That's going to give us temporarily. Charles wins number 32 BMW potentially for the lead of the race, or is he too far back in the queue? He would be the next one to inherit, but I think we're still going to get Schultz through next. We'll check as to see, because Nielsen comes in. Schultz has dropped behind wins in the order after the stop. That's partly waiting across the timing of being in the pit lane. So driver change this time. We haven't got Tommaso Mosca ready, haven't we, previously? Now it might be his big chance to go and see what we can do. However, he's used Nicholas Nielsen. Your stints average time was suggesting earlier, but he wasn't. So he's not coming for Ferrari for the next couple of days.
It's brutal, especially as an extra. I feel like I should always defend every single driver out there, but when the stats are given to you, now feel like you're
お疲れ様でした。
an engineer with a